So she's done the party, and I was,
Yeah.
we go in, we're like, oh, first, we're in. Yeah.
You all good? No. Welcome. Oops, sorry. Welcome to the July 9th Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting. To start things off, I'd first like to thank all city staff members who have prepared cases on your behalf today. They work really hard to do that, and it makes our job easier when we see it in front of us. We got an echo someplace?
Right.
Okay. So again, I'd like to thank city staff members for all their participation. I especially like to thank my fellow board members, both here and remotely, who give up their time every 2 weeks to listen to your cases and to act upon them. They all have many, many years of experience. So thank you to all my fellow board members. But before we start to review cases, I'd like to swear in city staff. No, I'm sorry. Sarah, you tell us about the procedures for today's meeting. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start by describing the procedures for today's hybrid meeting. For those joining online, there are two categories of people participating in the meeting: attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are board members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a member of the public who is interested in a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know you would like to speak on the case. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Click this to raise your hand to request a promotion to panelist. You will need to accept the promotion in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic, you will reconnect shortly. If you are joining us via the Zoom app on a smartphone or computer, please change your screen name to reflect your legal name. If you are calling in from a phone number, you cannot adjust your screen name. It appears as your phone number. You can still provide testimony by raising your hand when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. At the time of promotion, you must turn on your camera and microphone to be sworn in. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. The chat box is only for questions about the agenda. Merits of each case are not to be discussed in the chat box. For those joining us today in person, please approach the microphone on the podium when it is appropriate to give testimony. Applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is announced. Everyone planning to testify must sign in on the sign-in sheet in the vestibule. If you are in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well. Joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. All public testimony, in person or virtual, is subject to the following rules. The BZA secretary or their designated representative will identify you when it is time for you to speak. You must be sworn in under oath to provide testimony. Please provide your full name and address when you are sworn in. Everyone, board members, city staff, and members of the public, needs to speak closely and clearly into the microphone. The BZA has set time limits for all testimony during its meeting. These time limits are 15 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for presentations by applicants, 2 minutes for testimony by individuals, and 5 minutes for testimony by persons representing an organization, such as a neighborhood association, HOA, CID, or business association. You will hear an alarm when your allotted time is over. Please be respectful and wrap up your statement once you hear the alarm. We ask that there be no repetitive or irrelevant testimony. If you wish to admit exhibits, you need to have your exhibits ready on a jump drive or ready to share on your screen, and email the exhibits if they are admitted to the assigned planner. Exhibits that have not been previously admitted will not be recognized. The Board of Zoning Adjustment may take breaks during the day. These are typically taken around 10:30, 12:30 p.m., and 3 p.m. and will be announced by the chair. Those are all of our procedures.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Before we start to review cases, I'd like to swear in all city staff members who are presenting or testifying today. If you're online, please turn on your camera or microphone. If not, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
Sarah Copeland, I do.
James Duddy, I do.
Connor Tomlin, I do.
Stephanie Saldari, I do.
Anna Naniski, I do.
Andrew Clark, I do.
Thank you so much for that. Sarah, do we have any continuances to discuss today?
Yes, not quite a continuance, but I did want to note docket items number 7 and 8, the applicant has a conflict and would like for those to be moved to the end of your docket.
Okay,
And then the actual continuance is docket item number 10, CD BZA 2025-80, a request to appeal zoning violations related to the maximum percentage of pavement in the front yard of a residentially zoned property on about 0.162 acres generally located at 4335 Spruce Avenue. We request that item be continued to September 10th,
with or without fee?
without fee.
Do we have anyone in the live audience or virtual audience with comments on that continuance?
There are no hands raised online.
Great. I'll entertain a motion for that continuance.
I'll make a motion to continue docket item number 10, case number 80, until the September 10th meeting date without fee.
Great. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Mixdorf. Please call the roll.
Gorens?
Aye.
Mixdorf?
Aye.
Otto?
Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Ebbets?
Aye. That matter is continued. And, okay, want to call the first case?
Docket item number 1 is case CD BZA 2024-108, a request to approve a variance to the maximum floor area in the accessory dwelling unit standards, plus any additional variances on about 0.14 acres, generally located at 3419 Baltimore Avenue. Connor Tomlin is the staff planner on this case. We do have an established quorum of Ebbets, Gorens, Hayes, Mixdorf, and Wright.
Perfect. And do we have Mr. McGrew, it looks like?
I believe he is on, yes, he's online, and I'll promote him to panelist.
Eric, if
Agree
you can
with
turn
you.
on your camera and microphone. There he is.
There we go. My apologies.
No, that's great. Sir, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the court reporter.
Eric McGrew, 3419 Baltimore Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64111.
Thank you, Mr. Guru. There's a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 12 that I'd like to admit for this meeting today. Do you have any problem or questions on us admitting those?
I do not.
Great, those are admitted. One of that is a presentation by Mr. Tomlin on your case.
Excellent.
Okay, we have docket number 1, CD BZA 2024-00108 at 3419 Baltimore Avenue. This is an R-6 zoning district. The request is a variance to the attached accessory dwelling unit standards on the subject site plus any additional variances. This is the general location of the site. A closer look at the site itself outlined in yellow right here. I wanted to go over a bit of case overview because it's been a while since this was last before the board. So the initial application for this ADU was submitted on July 25th of last year, and the first hearing was on September 11th of last year. The initial application was for variance to the ADU criteria. Previous BZA variances approved criteria for a detached accessory garage in April of 2003. The disposition letter from that hearing in 2003 is attached to the staff report if you need to view it. And when this first came before the board, it was initially believed that this was going to be a detached ADU. However, it was discovered in that hearing that there was a deck connecting the ADU and the primary structure together. And this creates an attached ADU by code. The board continued the case to the November hearing of 2024 for revision of plans, images of the deck, and just to clarify any anything else that was outstanding. In this time, it was discovered that there were numerous permitting issues to the original detached accessory garage that needed to be addressed first. So the board then continued the case off docket to allow the applicant time to fix those issues, get new plans submitted, and take care of whatever needed to be taken care of. And then since then, the applicant has met with planning staff and permitting staff to discuss the processes forward for any of those previous permitting issues and then what needed to be done to get back to the BZA regarding their request. They worked on fixing issues pertaining to the original detached accessory structure permits. And now there are permits issued for that detached accessory structure and for the plumbing inside. However, there has not been an inspection scheduled as I checked on Compass KC yesterday, meaning that there should not be a certificate of occupancy for it at this time. The most recent inspection occurred on September 8th of 2023 for a building final inspection. This inspection failed, and on my following slide, I will include that worksheet from the inspector. The applicant submitted revised documents to planning staff for the purpose of the BZA hearing today. And then this is that inspection worksheet that I referred to from September of 2023. You can see there's a bunch of comments down below, reasons for failing that inspection. So moving on to the plans, this is the site plan. It's similar. Actually, it's the same site plan that was submitted with the initial submittal. However, new plans do show the interior design. They are proposing a first phase where the second floor is going to contain 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, the kitchenette. For an ADU, the first floor remains a garage. And then they are also proposing a second phase where the first floor is then fitted out with bedrooms and bathrooms as well. It's unique from a planning perspective to see this many bedrooms and bathrooms in an ADU, as they're typically not this extensive. They're generally held for one person. So staff is a little confused why there's so many bedrooms and bathrooms for what is expected to be one person living there. And then these are going back over some previously seen images regarding the deck that was constructed to connect the 2 structures. There is a photo of 3 doorbells on one of the doors, which staff has a little bit of concern that the ADU might be rented out. But obviously the applicant can speak to that here shortly. Moving on to the actual variances that would be needed. Variance request A is a variance of 22 feet to the minimum rear setback on an infill lot to permit a rear setback of 6 feet on the subject site. That is a 73% reduction from the requirement for a rear setback. A substantial change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated, as properties in this area generally meet setback requirements. However, combining the existing residence with the garage to create this attached ADU then brings this development far from compliance regarding the setbacks. And in my staff report, I have further notes under the variance review criteria. The difficulty could be obviated through a change of design, such as removing the deck connecting the structures. This would create a detached ADU, and then it would have to meet 5-foot setbacks from the property lines rather than being held to the standards of a single-family home. And then variance request B is a variance of 1 foot to the minimum interior side yard setback on an infill lot to permit an interior side setback of 4 feet on the subject site. That's a 20% reduction from the requirement. Primary structures in this area are generally compliant with this side setback requirement. Changing this garage to an attached ADU required it to follow the lot and building standards for the principal structure that I had just mentioned. However, in this situation, the difficulty could not be obviated through a change of design, as this request would require a setback variance to the side yard, regardless if it were attached or detached. That side yard requirement would be 5 feet in either case. And then if the board were to approve it today, there are 2 conditions that I placed on this. One would be that any variances approved in this case shall supersede any previously approved variances for the site. And then the second is in reference to standards within the accessory dwelling unit code. that the owner of the lot shall reside in either the principal dwelling or the accessory dwelling unit, and that they shall record a deed restriction limiting occupancy of either the principal dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit to the owner of the property. And they would be required to submit proof of that deed restriction prior to certificate of occupancy. And that completes my presentation. I'm open to any questions.
Board members, any questions of Mr. Tomlin? All right. Mr. McGrew, there's lots of variances you're asking for here today, and we have questions about the bedrooms and such. So tell us why we should approve your case, sir.
Well, my intent is to be able to use the ADU to age in place. 2 bedrooms on the second floor just seemed appropriate for the size of the structure. And it gives me an office to work out of. I work from home. Then also, as I age in place, I'm 63 now, I suspect I won't be able to manage those stairs later in life, which is where the second phase comes in. I'll have a caretaker staying upstairs, and I'll be able to stay on the first floor where I won't have to use stairs to get up and down into that second floor, was my original idea and plan. Ideally, I get at least the second floor of the ADU. I'm okay with not doing the first floor if that's unacceptable. My biggest fear is not being able to do the ADU and not having the ability to use the structure as I'd like to. So, any questions?
Why so many doorbells?
Oh, the house was originally chopped into 3 apartments, and I've just never taken them off. I've got one, if you look at the picture above it, or that picture may be old. I have 1 Ring doorbell for the main house now, right above those. So,
The Hyde Park Neighbors Association is against us providing this variance. How do you answer their concerns about the ADU?
well, I'm not exactly 100% sure of their concerns because they've never raised them with me.
No, they think you're going to use short-term rentals.
Oh, no, we can't without getting permission from everybody around me. It's impossible.
Right.
The neighbors to the north and south, certainly, and across the street aren't interested in short-term rentals. I'm not interested in short-term rentals. I think the whole short-term rental problem is obviated by the fact that I have to get permission to get short-term rental, and I don't believe the neighbors would provide it, nor am I interested in doing it.
All right. Board members, what other concerns you have of Mr. McGrew's request? Anyone?
I just had a question. How have you been using this whole detached structure to date?
I
Obviously,
haven't.
this-
No
if you just-
certificate of occupancy yet, so it's been storage and a garage, which technically I guess I shouldn't have been doing. I didn't realize I couldn't do that without a CO.
So it's been storage since 2003, essentially.
Yeah, it's just been, got a garage downstairs, and I've got some wood flooring stored upstairs that I was going to put down in it.
I understand variance B, that can't be obviated regardless of how we proceed. So I think that makes sense. I think where I'm struggling, and I'm just one board member, but this is essentially building a whole nother house on your lot. If you have something that has 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms in a very tight space, and I
It's-
don't think
I'm not building a new structure here.
it's not a new structure, but the occupancy load, having that many additional people, is essentially adding a whole nother house on this lot. And I have concerns with that is not how I foresee the ADU ordinance being used. When I think of the ADU ordinance, I think of 1 occupant, maybe 2 if it's a 1-bedroom unit. But I'm concerned as we start growing these and what that'll do to other lots in the city if people then also build these larger structures that have multiple bedrooms and multiple bathrooms.
Well, can we make it where I don't set precedents?
That's, if something were to be approved, that is how precedent gets set. So if we allow it for one
Um,
person, then that shows a historic record and somebody else could then try to lean on that as well.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that I couldn't build the 2 bedrooms in this structure. I really would like to use the second one as my office when I'm in it. So, but I would also like to be able to rent out the ADU while I'm working in the house, getting the house ready for rental so I can occupy the ADU. So I don't want to go against code or precedent, but I really would like to be able to use this structure that I've had for 20 years. And it seemed like the ADU was the ideal way to get this accomplished. So, which is why we're here today. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to make use of this structure for my long-term purposes while I continue to maintain my residency here in Kansas City.
You mentioned rental. So when you're talking about renting that space, are you looking at long-term rentals then, since you said?
Oh,
you want
yes.
to be
Oh,
patient?
yes. I have no interest in dealing with short-term rentals at all. And again, no, no desire, not even going to apply for a short-term rental license. And if we could set something against that, that's fine. I'm okay with that because my intent is to never short-term rental. My intent is long-term rental with long-term tenants, with leases no shorter than 1 year. With proper screening according to Kansas City tenant laws. I'm going to be very particular about who is going to live on this property with me. So my intent is to be here and make certain I control the property, or as I age, my son Joseph, who's here with me, will be the one in charge of controlling the property.
I have a question for staff. Looking at this site plan, it looks like nearly 1,500 square feet, but I don't see a variance for the square footage. Why is that?
It's an attached ADU, so I believe it just has to meet it reverts back to the principal structure, or principal dwelling unit code, which in this case would be the infill code. Are you talking about the original approval back in 2003 or at the moment?
Well, right now it's usually what, 800 square feet is the maximum required or allowed for an ADU.
Right, for a detached ADU when it's an attached ADU, and Sarah, maybe you could double check this for me, but it should just fall back to the requirements of 88, 110, 06, or 07, depending if it's infill lot or not.
Yeah, there's a big difference between attached and detached.
Hmm.
Because attached, it's part of the main
Mhm.
house.
Well, I realize that this is a very unusual situation. I built this structure intending it to be my rec room for my kids. I never got it finished because my job got me going out of town all the time. And then, so here we are decades later, trying to figure out how to make use of this structure appropriately. And like I say, I think the ADU would be the most appropriate use of that second floor, at least. And if we don't do the first floor, that's, like I say, perfectly acceptable to me, I think. But I would hate to be precluded from using that second floor because I wanted to put 2 bedrooms in it.
And there are 2 bedrooms on the first floor, right?
Yeah, that was my intent. But like I say, we don't have to do that first floor. My fear is, I've got bad knees now and my family's very long lived into their 90s. I could be here another 30 years. And so I would, like to be able to make use of that first floor at some point, possibly as my care area. But like I say, that's future, very future, and possible, not my full intent. I just wanted to be you aware, and if I needed to get any variances to be able to do that, I wanted to make certain we had it in place so we don't have to go through this again.
Mr. McGrew, the last meeting, we had some comment about and I see it here in the picture, this truck kind of outside. It looks like almost like a dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
You have any comments on that? Was that removed?
I
Still there?
am, when I'm done with the construction, I'll remove it. I've been using that truck to remove debris and rock out of the yard. You would have no idea how much rock I've been pulling out of that yard. But yeah, so, and yes, I intend to take down the front fence, open up the driveway all the way back, put a control gate between the garage and the house and the garage and the fence so the backyard is controlled, and then open up that driveway for my tenants and my use all the way. So it'll change the look of the structures by removing that fence. And of course, then I won't have won't have a place to store my large trucks there, and I'll go ahead and remove them. My son has property down south near Wichita, which when we're done with the construction here, we'll be moving all of that back to his property down south.
So is the concern here the size of the ADU? Because the variance we have is the setback.
Right.
Which
The
is
concern is the setback.
right.
And it looks like variance A could be removed if it wasn't attached. If that deck was removed.
Right. Though at that point,
Then
The
it would
size
be
would be
taxed,
concerned.
square footage would come. into
yes,
play.
exactly. It would be, then that would arise if it were
But-
detached.
But if it were one floor instead of two, it would fall into the 800 because looking at the
Yeah, so
square-
you have 800 square feet.
Or 90% of the floor area of the
yeah.
principal dwelling, whichever is smaller.
Principal dwelling's 3,200 square feet.
yeah, so
800.
800. So basically, if you were to knock out the deck and only use the one floor as an ADU, you'd be in compliance except for variance B?
Yes, because a detached ADU should have a requirement of a 5-foot side yard setback. And this is proposed to be 4, where it exists at the moment.
But we would add a variance C for the overall square footage since it would be detached.
Sorry. I'm sorry this is so hard for us all.
So that other variance would be for overall square footage Y?
Because it would be a detached structure at that point, and detached structures can't be larger than 800 square feet.
And that-
Right.
not just for so suppose you were to keep the bottom floor as a garage. The overall square footage, would that include that garage?
So there's the code, and I can't remember how it's phrased off the top of my head, but for detached ADUs, it has the footprint requirement and then the total floor area cumulative, I
Mhm.
believe is what it says.
There is maximum footprint of the ADU if it's detached. 60% of the footprint of the principal dwelling or 25% of the rear yard, whichever is smaller. In no case shall it exceed 800 square feet. And then there's a separate maximum floor area requirement of 800 square feet or 90% of the floor area of the principal dwelling, whichever is smaller. So there are 2 requirements: the footprint of the structure and the overall floor area of the building for the ADU.
None of these variances would need to occur. So if it was not pursuing the ADU, would we need any of these to just get into general compliance as he's going through the permitting process, or is that all?
For the detached accessory structure, or are we still saying if it's an ADU?
If it's just a detached accessory structure?
No, because those variances approved from
Those ones still
2003,
apply. Okay,
those are
once the
still
condition
applicable.
Comes in for superseding.
If you don't allow me to make it an ADU, can I turn it into bedrooms for the house?
That would require review with an architect to review building code and to see the appropriate requirements.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for the guidance there. I would prefer to have it be an ADU so I can generate income from it. I'm close to retirement, obviously, so.
From either it or the house.
The problem with that is that if, from a structural standpoint and a zoning standpoint, if it's considered a multi-unit building, that's not permitted in this zoning district.
Right, and we don't want it to be a multi-unit building. We want it to be either an ADU or one property where I can actually use the upstairs of that unit. So,
But if it's one structure, that rear setback variance would still come into play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If it's one structure, it would still need a variance at that point. So,
yeah, okay.
The only way you
Yeah.
obviate that structure is by having it be detached.
right, yeah. And you'd still need that side setback variance.
Yeah.
Detaching it also takes away my secondary set of external stairs, which I kind of like the idea of having from the second floor of this deck, having two sets of stairs to be able to get off of it. So, which was my original intent for all of this, access from the second floor of the house, second floor of the garage, and have fire egress from both structures out that secondary exterior set of stairs.
Mr. McGrew, we're kind of struggling with your requests and we're just trying to.
Well, please ask any further questions that I can clarify for you. My goal here is to age in place in this structure, not to become a short-term rental landlord or put in a bunch of extra people on the property. I would like to have a tenant in the ADU or a family in the house when I migrate to the ADU. And that's really my goal, right? I'll either be living in the ADU or the main structure throughout the whole time. And, I don't need a 3,200 square foot house. So at some point I would migrate to the ADU to live in that. And like I say, my goal is to age in place here, and which is the real reason behind this ADU law is to allow me to make sure I can. So ideally, I get the infill variance and I'm allowed to build the ADU. Perfectly acceptable with not building the first floor out. If we need to address that later in aging, I'll either probably have to sell the house or move, or we come back before you to ask to do it. So my goal here is just be able to make use of this property appropriately, without causing too much trouble. It's not really changing the tenure or tone of the neighborhood, as the structure has been standing 20 years. So the change here is my use of it and being able to use it. So I don't think that's a real stretch of the ADU requirement laws. Yeah, the structure is unusual, I'll admit, compared to the other requests you deal with, but it's an existing structure. So I'm just trying to Figure out the best way to get there. And I've been at this almost 2 years trying to figure out how to get here and use this structure appropriately.
I have a question. If we decide not to approve variance A, what would be the procedures after that? Like, will he need to submit new plans, or will we have to do a whole nother variance because of the size?
I guess it depends in the manner. If you're denying variance A, I mean, they would have to remove the deck, not move forward with an ADU because at that point it does not meet any of the code requirements. At the same time, they could always redesign and come back with something new. I'm not sure how easy a redesign is, given it's an existing structure being converted. So that's something that maybe to consider.
And I don't want to see. Go ahead.
The current variances that were approved a while back just allowed it to be a garage.
Yeah, so it was proposed as a detached accessory garage.
Okay.
The way that the original staff report is written, and the variances that were approved to that for the code at the time were for that detached accessory garage.
Yeah. Okay. Again, just one board member, and understanding how long this has been going, and it is a very complicated one, but my understanding with variances, there has to be some type of hardship. And his goal, I understand, is to age in place, but I don't see, other than that, the real hardship, and just continue to use it as it was originally approved to be functioning.
I just don't know how I'll, be able to afford to stay in the city at that point. I'll be forced to sell the property if I can't generate some revenue from one end as I retire in place. I mean, I've been underemployed, unfortunately, for the last 5 years, and this is really my last chance at being able to stay in the property, is my being able to live in the ADU and rent the house. So.
I'll offer a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Mixdorf.
We haven't called any testimony.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if there's anyone in our online audience who would like to speak on this case, if you would please raise your hand to be sworn in, or in person, if you would approach the microphone on the podium. Forgot to do this at the beginning because of the quorum.
Anyone raising hands?
We have no hands raised online.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ms. Mixdorf, do you want to?
Yep. In case number 108, I move that we deny the applicant's request.
Second.
What about the second variance allows the 1 foot?
I'm denying the entire request because other variance would not be required then, right?
Right. So what would happen is denying the variance requests today, it reverts back to, not reverts back to, the originally approved variances from 2003 for the garage are still applicable. You're just denying variances in relation to the request today.
Thank you. So I have a motion from Ms. Mixdorf, a second from Ms. Wright. Please call the roll.
Gorens?
Aye.
Mixdorf?
Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Ebbets?
Nay. Your motion is denied, sir. Good luck with it. Thank you.
Okay, can I apply to, I forget the name of it, to request this again, to come back before the board?
So an option you have is to request a rehearing. However, you have to provide evidence that was not previously known to the board for them to hear new evidence.
Well, Connor, we can discuss that at a different
Right.
point.
Good.
Thank you.
Let's hear from the next case.
Docket item number 2 is case CD BZA 2025-44, a request to approve a variance to the number of units permitted per lot area to permit a 2-unit house on the subject site, plus any other needed variances in an R 2.5 zoning district on about 0.1 acres, generally located at 4111 McGee Street. Stephanie Saldari is the staff planner for this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. I don't see Brian Driscoll online.
I did email him, and I haven't heard back from him. I'm not sure.
I'll remind our phone, we have a couple of phone numbers. *9 is the way to raise your hand online, or raise your hand if you're calling in. I don't see the applicant. You haven't heard from them?
I sent him a reminder email last week, and I emailed him this week too.
Want to pause the case? Let's pause the case, right?
Okay. We can come back at the,
Yeah, we'll revisit this and maybe Stephanie, you could reach out to him. Thank you.
I will.
okay. Docket item number 3 is case CD BZA 2025-76, a request to approve a variance to the front setback in an infill residential context area, plus any other additional variances in an R6 zoning district on about 0.227 acres, generally located at 1533 Northeast 51st Terrace. Anna Naniski is pinch hitting today for Alec Gustafson. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online to be promoted, or come and be seated at the center desk or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Anyone in the virtual audience?
We have no hands raised online.
Great. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, please state your name and address for the court reporter.
I do. Igor Kondenko, 2090 North, 2090 Timber Trace Lane, Lee Summit, Missouri.
Great. Thank you, sir. There is a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 9. Do you have any questions about those exhibits? And if not, do I have your approval to admit them?
Do.
Okay, great. Those are admitted. One of those is Miss Anna as pinch hitting a home run today and with Alec's absence. So go ahead. Tell us about the case.
Okay. Okay, that looks right now. Okay, thank you. Anna Naniski. This is docket item 3, case CD BZA 2025-76. The property in question is 1533 Northeast 51st Terrace. It's currently zoned R6, which is a residential zoning district, and this is a request to approve a variance to the front setback for an infill residential lot. The property is located in the northern portion of Kansas City, Missouri, towards Gladstone. And some context regarding this particular request. So in March of 2025, there was a permit submission regarding this project. Our division did acknowledge this fact of like the ramp wanting to be installed on the property, and then permits were issued by the permits division. And because there was some confusion about exactly like where the ADA ramp was going to be placed. So an ADA ramp can encroach into the front setback of a property per 88-820. But then there was a need for a change of plans to that original submission, and that occurred in May of 2025. So on per inspection of those new plans is when it was discovered that the ADA ramp is going to be installed within the garage, and that the garage is being extended to accommodate for the ADA ramp and to still be able to park 2 cars within the garage. Thus, a variance is needed because just the ADA ramp by itself wouldn't have needed variance, but since they're extending the facade of the garage, encroaching into the front setback, that's triggering the need for the variance request. So this is a look at the property from the aerial. The site in question is highlighted in yellow within an established residential area. And then you can see this is a line that's been drawn that shows the consistency with all of the front facades of the buildings along Northeast 51st Terrace. And this is one of the main analysis points when we do an analysis for an infill, context area. Basically that nothing can move in front of this line because that is the contextual front setback for this infill area. Here's another look at the proposed site plan provided by the applicant. You can see a little bump out for that garage addition encroaching into the front yard setback. Some more details regarding that site plan. So this is a variance of 5 feet to the front setback to permit a 30 front setback on the subject site. This is about a 14% change from the requirement. A substantial change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated. As I showed you, that very already clear, contextual nature of all of the homes along that street are already aligned together. The other homes in the context area are maintaining that 35-foot setback. However, we are acknowledging that the variance is due to wanting to locate the ADA accessible ramp within the building and still being able to maintain both parking spaces within the garage. A difficulty could be obviated in a change of design, like moving the ramp to another part of the home or the garage, or expanding the rear. And that concludes Alex's presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Anna? All right, sir, why should we grant your request today?
Sure. So we're trying to accommodate a ADA ramp, as Anna said, in the back of the garage. The homeowner's only access to their storm shelter is through the garage. So if it was in the front, they would have to exit the house during a storm and then reroute into the garage. So if we put one in the back, they are able to go from their house inside, ramp down to the storm shelter within the garage.
All right. Any neighbor concerns that you've heard of? Because again, you're coming out 5 feet from the sight line of other neighbors.
We have not got any response from the neighbors.
All right, board members, any other questions of Igor? Any testimony that you see from no one in the live or virtual audience?
There were no hands raised online.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna make a motion. I want to go ahead and make a motion on docket item number 3.
Go ahead, Ms. Wright.
Case number 76. I move that we approve the variance in accordance to the site plan and the staff report.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Otto, but Mr. Gorens beat you to it.
Okay.
So we have motion and second. Please call the roll.
Gorens,
Aye.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Docket item number 4 is case CD BZA 2025-79, a request to approve a variance to the residential vehicular standards to permit a larger driveway on the front yard, plus any other needed variances in an R 2.5 zoning district on about 0.07 acres generally located at 418 Lawndale Avenue. Stephanie Saldari is the staff planner for this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who is interested in speaking on this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. Ricardo Campos is online, so I'm going to promote him to panelist.
Great. If anyone else in the virtual audience is either for or opposed to this request, please raise your hand so you can be recognized.
We have no other hands raised online.
Mr. Ricardo, can you turn on your camera and microphone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And could you state your name and address for the court reporter?
Ricardo Campos. My address is 418 Lawndale Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64123.
Thank you, sir. There's a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 9 that we admit to hear your case. Do you have any questions on those exhibits? And if not, do I have your permission to admit them?
Yes, sir. You have permission to it.
All right, great. Part of that is a presentation by Ms. Stephanie Saldari on your case. Stephanie, tell us about it.
Okay. All right. So we got docket item number 4, CDBCA 2025-79, located on 418 Lawndale Avenue, zone R-2.5, and the applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the residential vehicular standards to permit a larger amount of impervious surface on the front yard and the parking spot in the front yard as well. All right, so the subject site is located right over here. So this is the site plan. So basically the whole front yard is paved. So this is a picture of the subject site. This is like the overview. And these are pictures of the subject site. So it is the yellow house. And then this variance came about from a zoning violation. There, it looks like it was an anonymous report about the front yard being paved. So for variance request A is a variance of 60% to the residential vehicular standards to permit an impervious surface of 100% on the front yard of the subject site. This is a 150% increase. So the front yard area is 492 square feet, and 40% of that is almost 200 square feet, so 196.8. So a change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated, although there are other properties adjacent to the subject site that look to have the whole front yard paved. They were not permitted to staff's knowledge. There's no record of variances for those. And other nearby properties have code compliant front yards. Can the difficulty be obviated? So there is an alley behind the subject site, and a parking pad could be placed there and access from that alleyway. But I will let the applicant speak more to that. And then variance request B is a variance to the residential vehicular standards to permit a parking pad in the front yard of the subject site. So this is a complete deviation. A change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated for the same reasons as the other nearby homes have a code compliant front yard, and the ones that do have fully paved yards do not have a variance for that. And again, the parking pad could be placed behind the home and access through the alleyway. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephanie. To your knowledge, are the home, it looked from the pictures, the homes on either side are not code compliant.
Yeah, it looks like from what I saw that looks like these two houses north of the subject site and the one south of it were also reported as well.
Okay.
So this is just the first one that we're hearing
Mhm.
okay.
All right, sir, why should we approve your request today, sir?
Well, sir, here's the thing. One of the only reasons, or if not the only reason we have this driveway, is because there will be cars that'll speed down our street, have it be a drunk driver or someone just driving just recklessly, and they'll hit our cars that are parked on the side of the driveway. And so that's happened to me, and that happened to our neighbor that's to the right of my house. That happened to him twice in under like 2 weeks. So two of his cars got ran into, and he still has yet to do anything about the driveway. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but um, so we're really trying to protect our vehicles from getting run into by other cars that are speeding down the driveway, down the street. We would like to maybe have a speed bump put somewhere on the street, somewhere along the street, so cars that are speeding by, will slow down and won't hit our cars. That's really the main reason that we got the driveway.
Can you use the alleyway and back?
Not really. It's really narrow and it's gravel, and so and to pull out and to pull in is really very difficult. So we really can't use the back of it. We could try, but it's really difficult. We've tried it before, and it's not pretty.
How long's this service been in? How long has the front yard been paved that you know of?
It's a year. I just became owner of the property, so this is how I received the property. I didn't do this to the property. This is how it came. But I think it's been a year that I know of. I'm not sure.
Stephanie, what is considered an improved alley? Is gravel acceptable, or does it have to be paved to then utilize the alley access?
So I'll let Sarah add to it, but from my understanding, an improved alley is paved. But Sarah, is that correct?
So it's defined in the ordinance. Hold on, I'm scrolling to the right section here. For this section, meaning the infill residential standards, improved shall mean paved with a hard surface or gravel. It does not mean that the alley must be improved to current Public Works Department standards.
Thank you for that clarification.
If I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Duddy.
Yes, James Duddy. 2018, there was no vehicle parking station in front of the residence. All vehicle parking stations were from the alley.
Thank you, sir.
Just so that I understand that comment, does that mean after 2018? So this has been here for 7 years. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying in 2018, it was not. It looks as though around between 2021 and 2020 is when it was added.
These houses where the parking pads are located, they seem to be closer together than some of the other houses on the street. Is that a correct perception?
Are you asking myself?
Whoever can answer it.
Yeah,
Oh.
they are pretty, like the lots themselves are pretty narrow. So yeah, seems like these are much older houses that were built pretty close to the property lines.
Mr. Campos, from the overhead satellite shot, we see other homes on your block with cars accessed from the alleyway. Now, in your shot, on your overhead from the satellite, we see no cars or your two neighbors either in the alleyway. from the alleyway, excuse me.
Yes, sir. Well, the alleyway, it's really hard to get into, and like I said, it's like not really. It's not. It's the alley is very. It's a very sketchy alleyway because there's people always walking through the alleyway and then from the alleyway, and we don't really like parking our cars there because people always walk by there, the homeless people and whatnot, and so we really don't want to have to resort to having to put it in the back because it's just very sketchy, not safe. Um, so we put it in the front, and one of the main reason was because so cars don't hit our cars, speeding cars down the driveway. It's really just for our safety. And as you can see, the other people have also done the same thing because it's happened to them, it's happened to us, and they've learned from all the accidents that have occurred in the street. And we've never had an issue with it up until this year. um I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the code is, but we really hope that you can give us a variance on it because it really is for our safety.
Is there any opposition present today, Mr. Chairman?
We did not see anyone with hands raised other than the initial complaint through Mr. Duddy's office.
And to the applicant, are your neighbors in any way opposed to this parking pad?
No.
And one board member, Mr. Chairman, I don't typically believe that we should cover an entire front yard of a house with concrete. This is sort of a unique situation and a hardship based on crime and homelessness in the area and other issues.
Understood. Thank you. Motions, anybody?
That's one comment as a board member. I think my only concern is if this is the first of many cases we're going to see about this same issue, also on the same block, understanding kind of the precedent that we set with this particular project.
And I recall, I think there was a property up north that had the same issue that we just asked them to at least reduce the size of the driveway, because I understand the issue of the crime or whatnot, but there's also the issue of a non-maintained alleyway, which seems to be a real issue in certain parts of the city. And so I can see how it's unsafe to even drive your vehicle down that. But then we do, as you mentioned, we'll set the precedent that now everybody on this block will be able to have driveways this big. I think we should at least maybe consider and offer to at least find a way to reduce the size of the driveway so it's not the entire front yard.
Ricardo, is that something that you would entertain?
I don't know what reducing the front yard would look like because it's concrete. So would that mean like chipping away at the concrete, or I don't know what that would look like.
Commissioner Mixdorf, we already have 2 cases that have been presented for the exact same thing on the same street.
And what was
Not
what was
presented
the
before.
outcome?
They haven't come before us yet,
Their
Teresa.
case is pending, they will be coming forward.
To be presented. No, okay.
It's sounds kind of similar to that situation up north where it's just sort of an outbreak of large driveways.
Yeah, essentially you would have to reduce the size of the concrete.
You'd have to remove some of the, perhaps even up to 50% of the concrete. I see a seam down the center. So
I see. We would like to keep it whole because then it would just be a mess if we were to take away 50% of the concrete. It's not an idea I would entertain, of course not. But we would prefer that it stays as a whole, to not move anything.
What if you would take some of the concrete out, starting at the front of the house, and remove several sections such that you still had some driveway, but you had some green space in front of the cars up to the house?
Yes, yes, we could go around do it. Again, we would prefer not to do any of that. We don't want to up, uphill to the front of the driveway anymore. We don't want to do any construction type work on it anymore, because if we do end up doing it and then we say we're done, and then it's still under, like, not correct, we don't want to go back and redo it, and so it has to be perfect the first time around, and so we don't want to go through that whole rigmarole. But like I said, definitely something I would consider if it means getting the variance on it. Yeah, of course.
Ms. Otto, I would
Go ahead.
point out that I don't believe that there's much of space between the front of the house and the property line to allow much green space and still accommodate a car.
Well, I think you could remove
Stephanie,
that.
could you bring up the overall view? Sorry to
Yeah,
cut
I
you
think
off.
you can actually remove the first section. I mean, there's
Can you show your
concrete
screen?
all the way to the front of the house, right? So that goes beyond the set of stairs that leads into the house. And then there is a section, I mean, that of concrete. I don't know what the distance of that is, but it looks like it's several feet because they're front tires, but they could still back their cars up and still be on concrete, I believe, and remove the front part and replant some grass in front of the homes.
What
And I-
about?
Mr. Campos, there's a expansion joint that's maybe 3 to 4 feet, guessing from the front steps out, and I think that's what Miss Otto is referring to. You would remove that section from the expansion joint towards the home to allow green space in that area.
I see. Okay, so there's a patch where there's a different color of concrete. That basically, and then the other side of that too. That whole front part.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is everything to the wall of the house. You remove all of that and replace that with grass.
Oh,
Greenery.
closer to the house.
Yes. So I'm
Okay.
not there, so it's hard for me. I don't have control of a mouse to show you what I'm talking about, but there is a section of concrete that all the way from, where the tires of the cars are currently placed. Do you see that in the photograph that's there? If you
Yes.
if you could remove that piece of concrete all the way across the drive up to and including the house, at least then we could see some green grass and there would be some semblance of a yard left.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And it's possible that you could also move I mean, you'd have to tear out more concrete, but you could also put some green space along the white picket fence that's next to the gray. You still could put two cars in there if you were careful. There's a lot of space in between these two cars. So you could also carve out some concrete on one side. So you're in essence getting green grass back along this house. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of, maybe you're not hearing this, there's quite a bit of opposition on this board based on board members' comments that they're not comfortable with a complete concrete pad, so.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and like I said, the only reason we got it was for our safety, just to come to protect us from speeding cars coming down the street. But yeah, we can get the front
I
of
think
it.
there'll be a concern with that because we don't think there'll be enough space to park a car because you still have the public sidewalk too, that you can't have your tires or any part of your car.
And I think that's what we're
blocked.
seeing in this image as
Yeah.
part of the sidewalk.
And to the board, I erred. There are 3 cases pending.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what is,
just-
what is the sidewalk? Is the last section of concrete the sidewalk? See, I can't tell from the
No, that
pictures
looks
we
like,
have.
looks like it's the apron to the road. So it looks like the sidewalk is at the rear of the car. Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
is there a sidewalk in this neighborhood?
Yes,
Yes,
further
It
south.
is.
Okay.
Everybody's just paved
Whole
like
neighborhood.
a mass.
Yeah, and then the car looks like it's already like
On the
right
sidewalk.
in,
Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say, I've seen other, I don't know if you remember, one of my variances on, it was on Forest Avenue, where it was for, to have a parking pad in the front,
Mhm.
but to meet the 40% rule, they did like strips and had the grass like in between. So, so it wasn't the front of the house, it was, you know what I'm
The ribbon
talking about?
drive?
Yeah, ribbon drive.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion? Since we have 3 other cases that are involved here, I suggest we consider continuing this case and having the staff talk to all applicants. It seems like the board is not going to support leaving a lot of concrete in these front yards, that these homeowners need to come back with a different proposal of how to remove some concrete. Without a new site plan, I think it's difficult to make a decision today on this case or any of the future cases.
Agreed, Ms. Otto.
So when are those other cases slated to be before the board? Are they, what's their status?
They're currently pending. They will be receiving notice of a violation for the violation of the ordinance. Then it will be up to them whether they wish to appeal or apply for a variance.
Okay. So it sounds like, I mean, this is the status quo. I think we should continue this case till we know what those, parties are going to do. I assume they're all going to appeal because otherwise they're going to have to tear out the driveways in ways they don't want to.
So, Mr. Campos, it sounds like it would be to your benefit to talk to your neighbors with these concrete pads in the front yard and come up with a plan that would give us some options to allow part of the parking in the front yard, but not the entire front yard, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes.
And sir, also understand, based on now what we understand is the cars cannot be parked such that the back part of the car is on the is on the sidewalk.
Okay.
So you may have to give up one of the parking pads to make this happen.
Alrighty. Yes, ma'am. I'll talk to my neighbors and I'll see what we can do about the situation or what's going to happen. I'll let them know what you guys told me, how we can solve it, and then we'll see how it goes, how the case goes again.
Since we need time to process these other cases, does it make sense to continue this case to sometime in September?
That's what I was thinking, Ms. Otto. It's allowed them to get together and come up with a plan. In September, we have September 10th and September 24th available. Which one works for you, Mr. Campos?
What were the dates? Excuse me. Sorry.
September 10th or September 24th?
The 24th would be perfect just to give us a little more time, but I'm open to the 10th if things. Yeah,
we're okay with the 24th, sir. If you
24th.
are.
Yeah, 24th is excellent.
All right.
I'll make a motion on docket number 4, case number 79, that we continue this case till the September 24th docket.
Second. We've got a motion from Ms. Wright, second from Mr. Gorence.
Gorence,
Aye.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. We'll see you on the 24th, sir, and be sure you get with your neighbors to come up with a plan.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your morning.
Sure.
Everybody.
Yep. Thank you. And did you want to, go ahead and it's docket 6 and 7. You want to take till the later?
It was 7 and 8.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So go ahead and call the next
Okay,
case.
docket item number 5 is case CD BZA 2025-82. A request to approve a variance to the minimum lot size of the subject site plus any other variances in an R 2.5 zoning district on about 0.034 acres, generally located at 615 West 20th Street. Anna Naniski is pinch hitting again on this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online Hermanos Design is being promoted to panelist.
Okay.
And anyone else who would like to provide testimony, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. We do have someone who has called in 3308. I'm going to turn you on to provide testimony if you want to swear them in.
Mr. Torres is here with us at the office.
Great. Who else did we have out there, Sarah?
You have someone who has called in on a phone number. So the phone number ends with 3308.
So that phone number, 3308, are you interested in this case today at 615 West 20th Street? If so, push star 9.
They already have. They've raised their hand.
Okay. So that phone number, are you interested in this case?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And are
Sorry.
you for? That's okay. Are you for or against? Doesn't matter right now, but just asking.
Yeah, I am opposing the
Okay.
variance, not the bill.
All right.
The variances.
And you don't have a camera, do you?
No.
Okay.
I'm on
So-
my phone.
That's okay. I'm going to ask you to raise everyone who's going to be providing testimony. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. And we'll take the phone as you're raising it. So do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, say I do along with your name and address, but we'll start with the people on camera first.
I do. Jack North. I live at 2111 Erie Street, North Kansas City, Mo.
Thank you.
I do. Ryan Hunter with Hermanos Design, 812B West 17th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I do. Jonathan Torres, owner occupant of the proposed design, 2933 Baltimore Avenue, apartment 100, Kansas City, Missouri.
Perfect. And the lady who's providing testimony with the phone?
Yes, Katrina Vincent. I
Address, please, Miss Katrina.
2008 Jefferson.
Okay, thank you. Who of the gentlemen who's speaking on the case? Who's going to be the representative, at least to start?
I'll speak to the case.
Okay, that was Ryan. Is that what I saw?
Yes, Ryan.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. There are a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 9 that are associated with your case. Do you have any questions about those exhibits? And if not, do I have your permission to admit them?
Yes, you have permission to admit them.
Great. One of those is a presentation by Anna about your case. Please tell us about it.
I can't hear anyone.
They haven't started yet. Almost. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
She's getting ready.
All righty.
Had to load up the PowerPoint. Okay, docket item number 5. This is case CD BZA 2025-82. The location in question, as previously mentioned, is 615 West 20th Street, zoned R2.5, which is a residential zoning district. And this is a request to approve variances related to an infill lot. And so the subject site is located in the west side portion of Kansas City, Missouri, more specifically near the intersection of Jefferson and West 20th Street. It is also very close to the I-35 overpass that goes by. The site in question is highlighted in yellow within an established residential neighborhood. This is a more close-up look at the site. It is a very small site. It is adjacent to an already established apartment complex. This is another look at the site. This is more positioned from the alley that's adjacent to the lot. As you can see, it is a very small site. More angles of the site adjacent to that apartment building that I was previously talking about and the highway. Another look of that. This is a image of the site plan proposed and provided by the applicant. You can see that the structure is pushed up against the front setback with a small side setback as well, with parking that's going to occur behind / next to the building that will connect to the alley. And this is a look at the elevations provided by the applicant as well. Again, a narrow, tall home to accommodate the unique shape of the lot. And another look of that home provided by the applicant. Since some additional images of the sidewalk that were provided by the applicant, as well as another view of the lot. Again, very small, fitting into this neighborhood. So the variances in question, there's a variance of 5.06 feet to the front setback to permit a 0-foot setback on the subject site. So this is an infill lot, but since there are no homes within the context area, they're subject to a reduced standard of the conventional standards, which is where we're getting these numbers, and it's a complete deviation since they're wanting a 0-foot setback, and they would need a 5-foot setback apparently, and this is a substantial change to the character of the neighborhood is anticipated. As I mentioned before, there are no other homes within the context area, but you have the reduced standards involved. But overall in the neighborhood, we do see homes that are conforming with the setback standards. And the difficulty could be obviated through a change in design. Though this lot is small, there is an option to move the building back a bit to meet this front setback of 5 feet that is needed, as you can see here, because there's still room in the back of the property. Let me get to the next variance. And then variance B is a variance of 1 foot to the maximum building height for the property to permit a 31-foot tall building on the subject site. This is a 1-foot deviation from the requirement, which is a 3.3 change. Substantial change to the character is anticipated. Again, same conversation about how there's technically no homes within the context area, but they're subject to reduced standards. And overall, the neighborhood has the detached dwelling units that are abiding by the height requirements for the property. The difficulty could be obviated by a change in design, reducing the structure by the 1 foot, which was brought up in the pre-application meeting when we discussed these variances. And that concludes Alex's presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of staff, anyone? Ms. Katerina, we'll get you in just a minute. We hear from the applicant first, but we'll come back to you in a minute. Mr.
Okay.
Ryan, why should we grant your request today?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Mr. Torres would like to build a house on this small site, sort of an infill condition. We're asking to move the house up towards the front of the property line on the street, in alignment with the building neighboring to the west. It's the brick apartment building I think you probably saw in some of the photos. That would allow Mr. Torres a usable backyard. If we push the house back the 5 feet, the setback that's required, you really would have 5 feet in front and 5 feet in back. And then we were wanting to push the house up in order to have a usable backyard that we could actually get an off-street parking stall in as near as it might be. We think it would be beneficial to have that parking at the back of the lot, accessed off the alley, then have the house again in alignment with the front of the house, in alignment with the neighbor to the west, and then some bit of green lawn to the east of the house on the street, adjacent to the alley. When we push that house up, that then affects the height. So one is affecting the other. We have to push the house up to grade to get in. That's what is really driving the 1 foot height variance we're asking for. Again, the height would be very close to the height of the neighbor to the west. In fact, we had sent Alex an updated elevation showing that in context, and I don't know if it made it into this presentation, but I could share that if that didn't make it in.
Sure, go ahead and share that. There'll be exhibit number 10.
Okay, we're going to pull that up just so you get a sense of the scale of the buildings next to each other. So on the right is the existing apartment building, and on the left is the proposed house. Again, a 2-story house is what's being proposed. For the fact that, again, there's very little lawn space or usable outdoor space, we're proposing a roof terrace. I think we're trying to get that shared. There we go, we're back. Okay. So you can see the 2-story house in elevation, and then a roof deck. To access that roof deck, we have to add, sort of that stair penthouse element that is on the back of the house, and then there's sort of a canopy that would protrude out towards the front of the house, providing cover. That total 31 feet. Again, you can kind of see contextually how that aligns with the neighbor to the west. So we think, we're trying to use and be sympathetic to the context that's there. I know staff talks about there not really being much context to draw from on this immediate block face. But we do think that the building to the west really is the context, and want to be in alignment with that. And we think our approach is sympathetic to that. So we think, we're doing good things, trying to establish a usable backyard that we can get off-street parking in, get building faces aligned, be within scale of the neighbor, getting some green space to the east along the sidewalk, what yard we can have, getting that in the right place. And those are the sorts of things we're thinking about and asking for.
All right, thank you, Ryan. So as a visual perspective, if you're on the street looking towards the house and the brick building, they will somewhat appear to be the same height, even though there's an elevation difference.
Correct.
Okay.
So
will this
Ryan? Oh, one second. You said this exhibit you've already sent to Alec?
We did. It was yesterday sometime. He was going to try to get it in the slide presentation, but he wasn't sure he'd be able to get that done in time. But he does have this.
Yeah, no worries. He's just out of the office, just making sure that the city has it so we can file it correctly. Just clarification. No worries.
Great.
Yep.
Normally we would ask you to resend it to us, but it sounds like it's already there, so we're good.
I think Teresa had a comment maybe.
Yeah, so my question is so this new proposed home would be facing what is not a street, but an alley as a front door, correct?
No, the front door would face 20th Street.
Okay.
You're looking at this elevation. Jack, if you go back to that elevation and hover over your cursor over the front door, yeah, there.
Okay, that was my confusion because I said this, I saw this set of steps. That's what I was trying to
Yeah, that's a side door, a second door out of the kitchen. Mm-hmm. At the front, this would be the front door where the cursor is.
So in part, what you're planning here, this is basically a corner lot. And there's really no other front doors on this block because, so I guess I see this as different now that I understand that. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions of the presenters? If not, Katerina, tell us your concerns.
Hi, thank you everyone for volunteering your responsibilities here. Yes, I thanks for the question about the front door because that was one of my questions and concerns that it's facing east towards the alley. And that, you explained or clarified that it is a side door, but I didn't see where the front door is actually located because you said it's facing 20th Street. That was one of my concerns. And also too, why this lot? It is a very small lot and a very unsafe lot, hence why it's empty or a vacant lot due to a lot of history of accidents coming off the 20th Street exit ramp into the previous building that was there before. And why this lot? I understand when I spoke to the owner of Hermanos Design, just asking some details because I never received a letter. I lived just one block over and I've never received a letter. And the reason why I know that when I called him about the hearing is because I was driving on 20th Street coming home and I saw the sign. So that's when I made some contact of calling them and asking questions about it. He said also that it was said that Mr. Torres was buying up property. So I looked him up and he owns 13 pieces of property. So why this corner lot? I understand he's going to make it his home. He's owned 13 pieces of property on the west side, mainly in the Sacred Heart area. And also too, why this lot? And he said he's going to make it his permanent home because he currently lives, in an apartment complex on 29th in Baltimore. And if he bought this lot, because it was just bought, back in the fall or the winter, I can't remember when it was bought, but it was just recent. And knowing the size of the lot, you're going to build a penthouse, and to exceed any variances for hardship, you need the size of the lot when you bought it. And so why this lot? Is he going to, for how long will he stay in this home to make it his permanent residence? I'm not against him building a house, but he can build a house to the existing codes, and knowing that the lot he bought, that the size he was going to have, the house was going to be, and not to exceed any extra variances and make it a penthouse. It's also too, what was my other question? Oh gosh, I think it escaped me. What else was there? The green space and backyard. There isn't a lot of room for green space backyard because the alley is just right there, but I understand the parking because I have trouble parking in front of my house. Sometimes we have to park under the bridge or park up the street or on 20th Street because parking is tight here. Right. And understand where you want to, build, have a space on the side of your home. I get that. I understand it because parking is terrible here. Right. And
well, thank you, Katerina. I think you shared your concerns. I do appreciate that. Your time limit has expired, but you presented your case very nicely. Yeah.
That was 15 minutes. Wow. I didn't think I was going to use all of the 15 minutes.
Yeah. The presenter gets 15 and you get 3.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes, excuse me.
Doggone it. Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But
it's okay.
Hey, for Mr. Torres, I will be the first one to welcome you into our neighborhood. I would just recommend you sit in your lot with the lawn chair for a whole day or half a day, a meeting different times of the day to see and experience the noise, the sound, the traffic, the homelessness, all the happenings that happen right there in that corner. It's not a safe area. And, and hopefully if you do make that your permanent home, you know, I have reservations that you will, knowing that you've got other 13 vacant lots that you've been buying up in Sacred Heart area.
Miss Katerina,
okay.
thank you.
Well,
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. Ryan, Jack, Jonathan, do you want to make any comments on her statements?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and address. First off, I appreciate the welcome to the neighborhood. I do go spend some time on that lot, and I do understand it's very loud and noisy because of the interstate, and it's a lot of transients pass through under the bridge and so forth. But what attracts me to the lot is that it's in the west side. It's a great neighborhood. I understand it's been severely constrained. It's a non-conforming lot. I feel like the city and the planning department would kind of feel for my desire to build a livable house under such circumstances. Now, for the two variances that we're requesting for building height and front setback, you know, as it's listed, it can be obviated with the alternative design that was presented to Alec early on in the process. But I would argue that that preliminary design is not, or does not lend itself to be very neighborly. There aren't any outdoor spaces to have neighbors over, crack a beer, have a barbecue, that type of thing. You know, it is buildable. I would not need those two variances that we're submitting now if it were positioned in the center of the lot, but it does not contribute or enhance the livability of the house. And that's essentially what we're going through this process for. I feel that the variance requests are very thoughtful. They're not necessarily, in my mind, an overreach. We're asking 1 foot of additional height. It's not to tower over any of the other homes. You know, pushing the house to the front of the north boundary aligns with the building to the west, creates that visual rhythm and consistency with the neighborhood. You know, the end goal here is, especially if the variance to push to the north boundary is approved, I would like to build a basement because that lends itself to being more of a livable house and structure, as opposed to being a slab on grade, you know, 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath structure that's not as much livable as a 2 bedroom, 2 bath structure would be. So that's essentially, you know, what we're going through, presenting as a hardship here.
All right, thank you. Board members, any other questions, comments, or motion?
I actually, from the 20th Street, I actually appreciate that this aligns with the other structure. I feel like there's some nice continuity there. So I personally don't have an issue looking at that variance. And I also think the height is minimal in context, again, with that apartment complex. It doesn't seem out of scale, especially when you're adjacent to the interstate. I would offer a motion.
Sure, perfect. Ms. Mixdorf, go ahead.
In case number 82, I move we grant the applicant's request in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Wright. Please call the roll.
Gorence,
Aye.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved, sir. Good luck with it. Thank you for coming before us. We're pushing against our normal break time, so we're going to take.
Thank you.
We're going to take 10 minutes, and we'll be back. Is that enough?
10:51.
10:51. Perfect. Thank you. Can I take your computer?
Leave it here for now.
Sure.
Yep.
Good.
Carry.
I don't mind carrying it.
Your charger for a little bit. Can you grab something upstairs? Charger upstairs. You didn't. You enjoying busy?
So far,
So fun, man. They started on that one. Is this the? And I was like, no. Yeah.
Permanent?
No.
Oh, just for today. Just for today. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was out east. I think Dan, like
Yeah.
his family in Jersey or something.
I don't know. It sounded like quite the adventure.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We'll be back eventually. Well,
Thank you. Yeah.
okay.
All right. Well, the city said, yeah. She's our secretary. We'll leave that because I emailed. And I'm trying to find that guy with a name.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You got it. I'll let you know your shot.
Okay.
From here, like Friday or Thursday. I honestly do not know. I'm outside. Is that okay if I give her?
It was Angie, so was gonna. A lot of people from the city of coming in, you know,
Is the day of me literally misplacing my item. Can I just keep it quick? Yeah. It's, I think it's, one outlet left. Today, I can.
Tom will be back in a second. We're waiting for one more member to come back and then we'll get started. There you go. Thanks, Tom. All right, Sarah.
Okay. Docket item number 6 is case CD BZA 2025-83, a request to approve a variance to the drive-through facility separation requirements plus any other necessary variances on about 0.8 acres generally located at 629 West 39th Street. Anna Naniski is the staff planner for this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. I'm going to promote Reese Williams to panelist and Travis Gaddis to panelist. Those are our 2 hands raised online.
Reese and was it Travis? Could you turn on your cameras and microphones, please, to be sworn in? Please raise your right hands to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, say your name and address and the I do. Thank you.
Reese Williams, 7700 Forsyth Boulevard, St. Louis, Missouri. I do.
Thank you.
That is 632 West 39th Terrace, Kansas City, Missouri. I do.
Thank you very much. Who's speaking on your case today? Is it Travis or Reese?
I am.
Okay, thanks, Reese. There are a list of administrative exhibits associated with your case labeled 1 to 10. Do you have any problem with us admitting those, or do you have any questions about those exhibits, sir?
No objections. Thank you.
Those are admitted. Part of that is a presentation by Miss Anna on your case. Anna, tell us all about it.
You can swear in again.
Okay, it looks like we're good to go. This is case CD BZA 2025-83. And as previously stated, the applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the drive-through facility separation requirements to establish a drive-through lane with an existing building, which is being renovated into a marijuana dispensary. So the subject site is located in the Midtown portion of Kansas City, Missouri, more specifically at the intersection of Southwest Trafficway and 39th Street. So if you're familiar with this area, if you're on Southwest Trafficway and 39th Street, there is a former auto body repair shop and an old car wash on the site that you can see highlighted in yellow. And the site is being renovated to be for the previous building that had the automotive use in it to be renovated into a marijuana dispensary. And then the old gas station is going to be car wash is going to be demolished. And there's going to be some additional parking and the lane for the drive-through on that site. So this is a look at those businesses that I was referring to, the old automotive repair shop, and then the vacant car wash. And here are some additional photos that were provided by the applicant of this car wash area. So it's been vacant for quite a while. It's in disrepair. Thus, further explaining why they're demolishing the structure and just using that as additional parking for the proposed use. And then some more photographs provided by the applicant of the back of the site. This is where the lots in question abut the residential properties, more specifically where the future drive-through lane is going to be constructed. Lots of trash and overgrown weeds that will eventually, be updated as well. So this is a site plan of the proposed renovations regarding the parking lot and the drive-through. The block in yellow, that's the existing building that's being renovated into the marijuana dispensary. And then I've got the green shaded areas that describes where the drive-through lane will be. And the red dotted line highlights that 50-foot separation that's required for drive-through facilities to be separated from any R-zoned property. And that could include the menu board, the lane, those type of associated features for the drive-through use per the code has to be separated 50 feet from any adjacent residential property, which is directly to the south. So in order to site a drive-through lane with this building, you can see that limits that adding that use to the existing building due to that separation requirement. Thus, the variance request before us today. So the use of the marijuana dispensary being inside the building, that's not in question. That's allowed to be in the structure with or without the drive-through lane. This business is just proposing to also have a drive-through lane, drive-through window pickup area included with this business, thus, again, triggering the need for this variance. So I've been in communication with the applicant team, and there is a possibility of adding additional landscaping features to that southern portion of the property. This is a look at what the landscape plan is with their permit as we know it today. They still have some other resubmittals that they need to accomplish, so there's still time to add these features. But I explained to them that the more buffering adjacent to that residential property, the better. So they've got a 6-foot tall wooden fence, and then some landscaping, and then relocating some of the additional landscaping that would be required on the site still to the back portion of that site is going to buffer that residential property from the drive-through lane. And at the time of that discussion, the applicant team seemed amenable to that proposal. So the variance in question, I need to move this bar, there we go, is a variance to the drive-through separation requirements to permit a drive-through lane that's roughly 14 feet away from the adjacent property line where the residential property is abutting them. Per the code, that the nearest point of the drive-through operation establishment, and that include the lane, the menu board, service windows, etc., has to be at least 50 feet away from any boundary of an R or DR zoned property. This is about a 36 foot deviation from the requirement, or a 72% change. Will a change in the character of the neighborhood be created? Yes, compared to a vacant car wash and a motor vehicle repair use, the activation of this use in general is going to create a change to the neighborhood. But there was vehicular, use on the property before, and there will be afterwards. As I previously mentioned, though, with adequate screening adjacent to the residential property, the negative effects could be minimized. And from a city staff's perspective, an activated site is more beneficial than a vacant site. And can the can the request be obviated in some other way? Will a change in site design could obviate the need for the variance? However, as I showed before, there's more design challenges with obviating the design because they're choosing to use an existing building versus having a completely vacant site. So now I'm going through the review criteria for the variance, first being the strict application of the zoning and development code, and if that creates unnecessary hardships for the property owner that are not applicable to other properties in the same zoning district. So the intent to use and remodel the existing building, which occupies that back southwestern portion of the property, that's creating the challenges for the applicant when choosing to add the drive-through facility feature to the building. Review criteria B is the purpose of this section of code. So we have specific use standards for drive-through facilities to control design and activity components with those uses to reduce negative externalities associated with a vehicular use activity that we as planners, considered to be a more intense vehicular use activity. So as I mentioned before, if it's adequately buffered or screened from the residential properties, then that can minimize a little bit of those negative impacts that we associate with drive-through uses. And we have review criteria C, which is considering the substantial justice being done, whether that's upholding the zoning development code, the benefits for the public, or the hardship imposed on the property owner. So if the variance is denied, the marijuana dispensary can be there. They just can't have a drive-through use feature associated with that business, which could affect their business or their property owner's business plan. And upholding the zoning and development code regulations would reduce the negative externalities associated with drive-through facility uses adjacent to residential properties. So that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions? Ms. Anna, are they going to restrict left-hand turns coming out of that?
I do not believe so, but you can ask the applicant to reframe. I know there's some reworking of the curb cuts on 39th Street, so there's not the conflict with Southwest Trafficway in 39th Street.
Right. Okay, thank you. Reese, why should we approve your request today?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Anna, as well for your presentation. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Anna, I don't know if you're going to present on your end, or I can share my screen on my end, however we want to handle it.
Well, whatever easiest for you. I have it if you want me to share my screen, but you also have access to share your screen as well if you want to drive your own presentation.
I can just share my own screen then, if I can get this figured out.
It's exhibit number 9.
It's 11.
Or 11. So this week it says PowerPoint present.
That's our PowerPoint presentation.
So this will be exhibit number 11. If you would forward that to.
I already have it.
Okay.
Yep, Anna already has it.
Okay.
Can you see it on your end?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, like I said, Reese Williams with Armstrong Teasdale here on behalf of the applicant. And I will click my next slide here. But just a little bit of background here. The site was recently rezoned from UR urban redevelopment to B32, which is the zoning designation of the adjacent parcel to the west that the old auto shop is sitting on. And as Anna mentioned, the intent is to demolish this vacant car wash and redevelop it as an accessory parking lot and parcel that would also contain the drive-through lane. And just one clarification that always comes up with dispensaries and drive-throughs is that it would only be utilized for pre-order pickup only. There are no menu boards, no squawk boxes. It's a very short transaction time of roughly about 3 minutes. So it's akin to a drive-through pharmacy type of use. So just to provide a little bit more background here, the current site layout shows the ingress and egress here that would go kind of directly to the building where the existing auto body shop is. But as you can see on the site plan, during the rezoning process, myself and the applicant team collaborated extensively with Public Works, with Councilman Bunch, whose ward this is in, to ensure that we were meeting all the standards. And during that time, we agreed with Public Works to modify our site plan to move the ingress and egress, close the existing one, and move it further down on 39th Street to the far end of where the existing car wash structure is. So to, reduce the traffic concerns, because it's a high priority intersection for Public Works, and to keep it safe. That decision to move the ingress and egress down has also, has downstream effects as far as parking and traffic circulation on the site. And that, coupled with the fact that the existing building is so far offset from the road and currently backs all the way up to that residential district, to repurpose it, to incorporate this new ingress and egress, that is why the drive-through lane looks as it does. So one other quick rendering here of this doesn't do a good job of showing what the drive-through sign is going to look like, but that is what the rendering is that was also presented during the rezone. And so a little bit of background, and this will also, Travis is on the line with us today. The site is located in the Valentine Neighborhood Association. My client has extensively collaborated with Valentine during both the rezone and now the variance request. And the Valentine Neighborhood Association and the bordering neighbor to this site support this application, and we appreciate Travis being here. The significant visual and noise buffer considerations will be incorporated into the landscape plan. And then there's also been comments to that effect from the Valentine Neighborhood Association, and our client is going to incorporate those suggestions and make sure that all of that extensive buffering would be present on the drive-through lane. And so with that, with all of that, the benefit to the neighborhood of removing a vacant car wash structure that has, from our understanding, has caused significant, nuisance and safety issues with fires and things like that over the years, is that this will be a net gain to the neighborhood, and any negative externalities associated with the drive-through will be minimized because we are incorporating those comments. And so, yeah, just reiterating the agreement to move the ingress and egress further east has this downstream effect on traffic circulation that impacts the drive-through lane. And so the variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of the code. The current building has created significant issues for the neighborhood. The drive-through lane boosts commercial activity in this neighborhood commercial zone. And, we're still having the ingress and egress move further away from that busy intersection definitely still accomplishes the goal of promoting public safety, while also minimizing any negative effects that this variance may have. So with that being said, that's all that I had for my presentation. I am happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Reese. Questions of board members?
What are the hours of operation of the establishment and the proposed pickup lane?
So the current operational hours for this license that is operating elsewhere in Raytown is 9 to 9. And I believe that that's the same amount of time the pickup window would be open.
And that's 7 days a week?
Yes, I think it would be shorter on Sundays.
Thank you.
And Reese, we talked about this briefly with Anna. Are you going to restrict left-hand turns back onto 39th Street?
I don't believe that that's the intent right now, but I know that my client is still within site plan review process with Anna and everyone else. So those comments can be, if they are raised, I think that they can work through those. But as of now, I don't believe the plan is to restrict left-hand turns out.
We had a similar establishment east of Main Street that came before us a couple weeks ago, and we kind of restricted their access in and out of the parking lot because of safety conditions.
If the board is considering adding that condition to its approval of this variance request, I think that our client would be okay with that, as long as the key is obviously being able to maintain the drive-through. So.
Right.
I intended to testify in favor for those guys.
Yeah, come on.
We also have another hand raised online, so if you want to have a.
Yeah, so you come up to the desk, sir, and then the hand that's raised online.
Yes.
All right.
When you're ready for.
Yeah,
public
so.
comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Sorry, Anna. So again, the people who are going to testify in the case, we're going to finish our questions to the presenters, and then we'll have your comments. So just give it a second or two. All right. So again, Reese, that would be my concern, that we would restrict exit from the site to be right-hand turn only.
Okay, and I believe that my client would be willing to accept that condition.
It's just that I go by this area a lot, and it's 2 lanes to cross, to turn left, and traffic backs up at the traffic way. So it's just a safety concern is my concern. So, all right, that's my comment.
Yep, and absolutely. And we had extensive conversations with Public Works during the rezone and understand the safety concerns around that intersection and that road.
All right. And curious, is the pole sign still there? Are you guys using the pole sign?
I believe so.
Right. I mean, it was there.
No, sorry. I'm joined by Reagan Etheridge, who's the senior project manager for my client, Good Day Farms. So she has better information on the store design and layout as well. So she's going to correct me because I think I had bad information there.
Right. Do you want to respond to that?
Am I able to speak at this time, or?
She's on the applicant team, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I don't think we've sworn her in yet, have we?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, so raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, state your name and address and the I do.
I do. Reagan Etheridge, 425 West Capitol Avenue, Suite 1400, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Thank you.
Okay.
Reagan, what's your comment on the pole sign?
The pole sign is not there, nor will it be utilized. I mean, well, it won't be a part of our operations. I've been informed that it has been taken down from the site.
All right, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
And then I also did want to speak briefly on just the left-hand turn only for our property. That was a concern that was brought up from Public Works and something that they did want to implement within our design. But upon further discussion and research of being able to navigate and perform a U-hand turn on West 39th Street, there wasn't the feasibility of doing so unless doing it in an operational parking lot. And that's why Public Works chose to forego making that, implementing that in a part of our site design.
So why can't you force people to turn right? I'm confused about that. I don't think. Go ahead, Reagan.
Force people to force people to turn right, and then if they needed to go left down West 39th Street, they could only make that U-turn into an operational parking lot. The West 39th Street doesn't permit any types of U-turns down the length of that roadway, is what we found upon research.
So I think that the point is that while we would be able to have a right hand out, it does not exactly relieve traffic safety concerns because there's no legal U-turn or anything like that on 39th Street. So you could be having downstream potentially negative traffic effects from that right hand out only, I think is what Public Works was getting at.
All right. Board members, any other questions of the applicant team? All right, we're going to hear the other comments. Sir, at the podium. Please raise your right hand to be sworn, and then we'll get the people online. Sarah.
Well, that was Reagan, so.
Oh, that was Reagan. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth today in this meeting? And if so, state your name and address for the court reporter.
Josh Franklin, 14355 East Quantrell, Nevada, Missouri.
And I do?
I do.
Okay. Let's hear your comments, sir.
I'm just here in support of these guys. Our office, I'm the vice president of Local 15 Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers. We're located directly across the street from these guys. They've reached out to us and us and the entire neighborhood. We are all aware of what's going on. We're ecstatic to see the car wash going away. I can think of it. It's been at least 10 years that it's been blighted like that. And, we have monthly membership meetings where we could have 20 to 100 bricklayers show up. And sometimes we have issues with some of the vagrants or ne'er-do-wellers, I guess, that are across the street. Sometimes our cars are broken into. So we are really excited to see this happening. From that standpoint, there's a lot of I don't know what the term is, negative stuff that happens over there. So to see them including in this and all their plan is very, very good. But I guess all in all, also, we're kind of excited to see that they potentially could be moving the drive lane back further away from Southwest Traffic Way. Because as you know, if you drive through there all the time, my office faces that whole intersection and it is terrible. So I think that gives some additional footage for egress, and we're just excited to see the whole thing, and we just wanted to come here and support them today. But they're doing a good job. They're working hard. They're working fast. It's looking very nice, and we're just excited. If we need to come over and chip in tearing the building down, let us know.
That's great. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Welcome.
Then online, we have Travis Gaddis.
Okay. Travis, we've already sworn
We've
him
already
in.
sworn
Yeah.
him, yeah.
Travis, what's your comments today, sir?
Yes, speaking on two behalves. First is the president of Valentine Neighborhood Association. As Reese mentioned earlier, that they have been working with us. We've got feedback from the Kansas City Police Department with some of the issues and what we hope that they would implement. We did have concerns about the drive-through and the queuing of traffic and those things. They took all those into consideration as we worked through those. So the board definitely approved the demolition of, or the Valentine neighborhood approved the demolition of the car wash and the drive-through. I know this is specifically, so on that aspect, I don't think there's anything more to say for the Valentine Neighborhood Association. This variance specifically is the 50-foot. Actually, I am in the property that is right adjacent to it, as well as my neighbor Preston Pageant, who actually can't be here because he is a merchant marine. He's on a ship right now. But he and I are both in agreement. Our properties butt up against the car wash. As everybody mentioned here, it's been a blight. There are homeless that live there today. You can't get them out. They've been breaking down our fences so that when the cops do come, they can step over into our yard. They throw trash over the fence. There's been multiple fires there. Even if it was still a car wash, I think it would still be within the 50-foot, and you would have cars there. It would be a lot louder than a queue drive-through that doesn't have a squat box. It doesn't have a menu. It's all online order that goes through. I talked to Reagan extensively about the landscaping, offered up some suggestions. She said, yes, we could definitely incorporate those. And so speaking on behalf of Preston and myself as the two residences that butt up against this property, we are very happy to see this happening, especially with the issues we've been having. I've only been there 4 years, so not 10, as it was mentioned earlier. But we're really happy to do it. And they're putting in additional security and lights and things along the back wall that really help prevent some of the issues we've been having over the years as well. So they've been very willing to do all of those things. And so we are definitely in support of moving this forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Travis, for your testimony. I appreciate it. Board members, any other comments or questions?
I have a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Otto.
In case number 83, I move that the board grant the requested variances in accordance with the staff report and site plan.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Mixdorf. Please call the roll.
Gorens.
Aye.
Mixdorf.
Aye.
Otto.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. The project is approved. Good luck with it, everybody. Thanks again for your testimony.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Hold on, Connor. Chair, we had previously spoken about delaying 7 and 8 to the end of the docket, but the applicant is here.
Okay.
To go ahead with those. So
Perfect.
docket item number 7, give Andy a minute, is case CD SCP 2025-3, a request to approve a special use permit to allow for gasoline and fuel sales in District M1-5 on about 0.7 acres generally located at East 12th Street and Jackson Avenue. Andrew Clark is the staff planner for this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online or approach the microphone on the podium to be sworn in. And we have Gerald Menifee online, who I'll promote to panelist.
Good almost afternoon. Could you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear? Do we have someone in the both
You
of
have
guys?
someone online. Mhm.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, say I do with your name and address. Let's start with him first.
I do. Tarek Jabali, 15898 West 158th Street, Olathe, Kansas.
I do. Angie Curtis, 715 Jackson Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64124.
Great.
And then we have Gerald Menifee online. Mr. Menifee, you need to turn on your microphone and camera to be sworn in.
Okay.
There you go. Is your camera available, Mr. Menifee?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, I didn't hit my head off. Okay, there we go.
Could you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the court reporter. Thank you.
Gerald Menifee, 6811 North Michigan Avenue, Gladstone, Missouri, 64118.
Great. And are you here in opposition or support?
I'm in support. I'm
Okay.
I'm the engineer in charge of the project.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Let's see here. There are a list of administrative exhibits in your case that are labeled 1 to 9. Give me a second here. Sorry. Yeah, 1 to 9. Do we have your permission to admit those? Thank you.
Of course you do.
Okay. And part of that is a presentation by Mr. Clark. Tell us about it, Andrew.
All right. Good morning, Chairman Ebbets and fellow commissioners, board members. Yes. Share my screen. Before you today is, I believe, the first special use permit that you will see for gasoline and fuel sales, and I will make the screen large. This is CDSUP 2025-3, and it is at 12th and Jackson. The site is located in the 3rd Council District. As you can see here, it's outlined in red on the southwest corner of East 12th Street and Jackson Avenue. The site has been vacant for a very long time. The area plan does recommend commercial, so this land use would fall under a recommended land use according to the area plan, and the zoning is currently M1-5. Late last year, the city did pass gasoline and fuel standards that does require a special use permit in all zoning districts for a gas station. That is why you see this before your body. A year ago, this would have been allowed by right. This would not be coming to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Here's a view looking in 2011. There was a really nice corner building across the street. And then also there was a outdoor advertising billboard on the current site in 2011. It's also important to see that this site used to be signalized. Those were removed by the city after this photo in 2011. 2024, it is completely vacant. And there is only a 3-way stop sign. This Google photo also makes a good point. There are traffic issues at this intersection, which was staff's concern, but you'll see farther in the presentation how that's been addressed. Again, it is really interesting that in 1909, there was a small residential building on the corner, but then by 51, there's never been anything on this site. It's really interesting for this part of the city to never have anything on it. The reason why we're here today is not only is the applicant seeking a special use permit, they're seeking a variance to the separation distance in the gasoline and fuel standards. In blue is a 2,000-foot buffer from existing gas stations, and this site is just within that buffer. There is the gas station in question that's putting them within the proximity of 2,000 feet is located at Truman and Spruce on the north side of Truman. In red is a buffer of 200 feet from residential zoning districts. The applicant is staying outside of that buffer. Again, the code in 88-347 states that you cannot have a gasoline and fuel sales establishment within 2,000 feet of another one. This was really driven from what we see in the city where we have 3 gas stations on one corner. It was to address the concentration. And then it talks about in 88-820-15 how to measure the 2,000 feet. Oh, here we go. I knew I put a slide in there. So you measure a straight line from property line to property line. It's not from where the pumps are to where the proposed pumps are. So as you can see here, they are about 1,000, just over 1,000 feet away. The code says you need to be 2,000 feet away. The variance is a variance of 1,000 feet to the gasoline and fuel standards to allow a gas station to be within 2,000 feet of an existing one. This would be a 50% change of what the code permits. Staff did flag these as, there is no physical hardship that staff could identify. And that goes with staff's recommendation that you will see here. The main issue is these are brand new standards about separation distances, and we do not see a physical hardship. Now, it is separated by some physical land barriers, such as the railroad track. That really does create a buffer. That is the only variance the applicant is seeking. Staff really does want to thank the applicant team. We probably spent 6 months working together on this site plan of bringing, number one, the building to the street. And also these curb cuts, moving them as far as they can from the main intersection. So your previous case you just saw, I really do want to thank their team for working with us to find a way that a fuel truck could come in and out safely, but not have a negative impact on the intersection at 12th and Jackson. What makes this also very special, I would say, is if you look at the front elevation, which would face the pumps to the west, they meet the 35% transparency. But then what is really nice is that on the north, they are adding another customer door. So Officer Krebs with KCPD really stressed the point that we want to make sure the cashier or customers can have a visual from the north of foot traffic and a visual from the pumps. So it's really, this is great SEPTED design. And also, again, the applicant applauding them for working with staff. We do not have codified design standards when it comes to materials necessarily, but we wanted to match the character of the historic Northeast, so the building will be all brick. It's not just an EFIS building. So that really does go far. Also, the applicant has purchased the entire block here at 12th and Jackson. We want to make sure that if they are saying they need this gas station to start the redevelopment of this area, that it's well buffered from any future development. So they have agreed to do brick columns with a 5-foot ornate fence, and then along with red cedar screening. So if there is, let's say, an apartment building or a residential built next door, in 5 to 10 years, there'll be some pretty nice screening to help separate the uses, especially visually. So staff's recommendation in this case is denial because they are seeking a variance to the separation distance. And because there's no existing building, staff does not see the physical hardship. Therefore, it's a use variance within asking for relief to separation. But the City Plan Commission did recommend approval with conditions on this case. And that concludes my presentation for this SUP.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Board members, questions of staff? So the 2,000-foot buffer came into play. When did that come in, Andrew?
October of 24.
Okay. All right.
Generally, how many have we seen? I said everything has to come before us now, so there's been no new.
This is the
fuel
first
sales.
one.
Okay.
So you are setting a precedent today.
All right. Sir, why should we grant your request?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. So this particular site, we had purchased with the intention of developing the gas station, fuel station, being a C-store and a restaurant. The goal is to develop the entire block in two phases, with phase one being this particular gas station. As far as the buffer, the 2,000 feet buffer for another gas station, the nearby gas station, which is the one Andrew mentioned on Truman, we believe it serves a completely different neighborhood. There is no gas station currently on 12th Street all the way to downtown. This particular site has been a homeless colony. Andrew has mentioned that it's been vacant for quite a few years now. Since application, we had to clean up this site 5 times already. We worked with KCPD, we worked with the city as well. There's been cases of drugs and all of that. We have engaged with the homeowner association. We worked with them hand in hand. We met with the neighbors. They are in favor of the development of this project here. We even had invited them to tour some of our investments within the city, which they mentioned that we invest heavily in KCMO. We are committed to continue to invest. In KCMO alone, we have 5 grocery stores in here. The intention is to develop this site in phase one, which is the gas station, and then introduces phase two as developing retail there as well. Intention is to also introduce a grocery store there that serves the immediate neighborhood. We worked with the city, as Andrew mentioned, as far as locating the building away from the residential area to where it's behind the C-store. So we're here to seek help as far as approving this project and help develop this site that's been a problem for the neighborhood. It's been a problem for the city, and it's been a problem for us as well.
Andrew, is Jackson Avenue that goes underneath the bridge? Does it go underneath the bridge, or is it?
Yes,
terminated?
it does.
Truman, right?
Correct.
Truman, right? Yeah, okay. Board members, questions of applicant?
Sorry. What were the conditions from CPC? I didn't see them. I see the city staff conditions.
They added to continue working with the Registered Neighborhood Association, and that they are also here today. There was a community benefits agreement being worked on when this was before the CPC in late June. That was the only condition.
I think the grocery store is going to be a plus.
I think my biggest concern is whenever there is a new requirement put in place, there's always for a reason. And then as soon as we start saying we don't need to adhere to that requirement, I don't know where do you kind of give the leeway, because it's already at 50%. I think if something is a little bit closer, I might be more amenable to that. But a 50% deviation from a brand new requirement is really going to set a precedent moving forward for any future fuel sales. And that has me concerned as one board member.
I appreciate what you're doing for the neighborhood, but I also echo Ms. Mixdorf. It's only been in effect since October, and you're not asking for a 10 or 20% deviation. You're asking for a 50%. So and I have no idea what the next case is. I think, are you on that one too? Yes, you are. So I'm not sure what that is all about, but like I said, I like what you're doing with the neighborhood, but I don't think, given the city's request, that fuel sales don't be within 2,000 feet. That's my concern, sir. So,
I think we had one.
yeah, what happened to the late? Oh, there she is. Come on up. Sorry. Angie, right?
Yes, hi,
Okay.
yes, Angie Curtis. Hello, everyone. So I am here in support. I'm speaking on behalf of the Lycans Neighborhood Association. When we went before the City Planning Commission, one of the conditions, of course, was to get into an agreement with the neighborhood. We really do value the efforts that they have taken. They spent over $10,000 to help clear this lot. This is something that we've battled in the neighborhood for the last, as long as I've been in the neighborhood working, 5 years. So I know it's probably longer than that. But under the conditions that we set forth, for business operations, we suggested for no liquor sales after 11 p.m. On-site security must be provided during hours of operation. Strict no littering policy must be enforced and clearly posted on site. And adequate exterior lighting must be maintained at all times. This is part of the agreement that we have entered to prior to coming before you all. Also, as far as compliance, we have a clause where any failure to comply to any of the provisions in the agreement will result in $100 a day fining. And we also have a clause where if they don't adhere to any of those things in the agreement, that we can do a dispute of resolution. I just want to echo that I really support them. I think that it'll boost the morale of the community. What was very attractive to us is the phases that they want to do, especially when it comes to eventually having maybe some affordable housing units and a grocery store in the area. And like I say, I worked in the area for 4 years before I became executive director and housed over 40 individuals. So I know how it goes when, the vacant lots are there, you have tents that pop up. It's a struggle, not only for the community to go out and battle these situations, but also, with the support of the city, there's kind of sometimes a lack of resources there. So for them to come in and kind of trying to alleviate all of those, we really support. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angie, for your
Thank you.
testimony.
As another board member, I do want to make mention too that when these ordinances are put in place, there's always the circumstances why they have to come to us to be able to give a different direction approach. And even if a precedent is being set, there's still certain factors we have to take in consideration. My understanding with this ordinance being put in place is to alleviate the amount of these stations that are being put, particularly in certain parts of the neighborhood. But when you have one willing to make the investment and do it right by putting community agreements in place with the neighborhood to improve a long-standing blighted location, you have to take that into consideration. Like if he was somebody that was like, I just want to put a gas station here, I don't care what the neighborhood says, I don't care about any ordinances, then I could see where we would take that, that ordinance into place. But they did everything right in this situation. Got on board with the neighborhood, put the curb cuts in place so traffic is being put in place, all the things we asked it to do. So ensuring that we don't continue to have blighted situation in these neighborhoods. Like it was mentioned, this land has been vacant since 1950, and it's only getting worse. And so when people are making that investment to improve it, whether we're in agreement with what is being there, if they're doing everything right and they got neighborhood approval, I say we take a chance.
Thank you.
I agree with you.
I have a question though. Are there any other businesses, retail businesses still around there? I mean, there used to be a place across the street and there used to be
There isn't, it's in
all gone.
an industrial area pretty much.
The tire place is still on the other side of the
That's
bridge.
Street, yeah.
Yeah.
The tire place still.
And then how about on your side, they used to buy aluminum and steel and.
Yep, the scrap yard is still there.
Is it still there?
Still there.
Too bad.
Yeah.
That's why the tire place is in business, because I always drive over a screw.
Oh, Andrew.
Sir, if you want to speak, you have to come to the microphone and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
And state your name and address for the court
Van
reporter.
Hasteen, and I'm helping, assisting with the project. And I just wanted to mention something very quick. I do understand the variance of the 2,000 square feet that's going to be close to the other gas station. One thing we wanted to mention is very important for the city and the neighborhood, that the standard of the gas station is not any typical gas station that you see. It's at the standard of Quick Trip, better than Casey's, and we have invited the neighborhood association to one of our gas stations. So it's actually is going to set up a new standard of the gas station. So instead of measuring of the bad one and keep the bad ones, we're gonna bring a new standard of a gas station. Like we have everything there. Machines are over 250,000, touch screens, safety in place, cameras, nice restaurants serving dine-in and quick, like we have 3 franchisee or 5 franchisee that we might bring one of them there. So we feel like we're gonna set the standard higher for the area, and I think the other gas station, they need to step up to compete with service and appearance of the gas station. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you, sir, for
You're
your
very welcome.
testimony.
Thank you, sir.
And could you have them please repeat their name and address for the record?
My name?
No,
He's coming back.
Yes.
Thank
My
you.
name is Ben Hassin, and I'm assistant with the project.
Your home address.
My home address?
An address.
An address, 4200 Somerset Drive, Prairie Village, Kansas. That's my office address.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I see in the conditions there's there's the time frame for it is 5 years, so that would require reapproval after the 5 years, correct?
Is that going to be a standard time frame for all fuel sales coming before us, or is that specific for this case?
Every case is different.
Okay.
The city plan commission usually has comments with staff's recommended time. But the applicant never asked for us to move it.
All right. Board members, questions, comments, or motions?
I believe I understand that this being a new ordinance, but the ordinance does allow for an application like this, and this process allows a fuller evaluation of the site. So although I see this as a 50% variance, I think I am in more line with Ms. Wright that I think this might improve the neighborhood and not be detrimental.
How many pumps are you gonna have?
We're gonna have about eight pumps.
8? They'll be able to get in and out without causing wrecks or traffic?
No.
Bad?
I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
Docket item number 7, case number 3. I move that we approve the request for the special use permits with the CPC conditions in accordance with the site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gorens.
Gorens,
Aye.
Mixdorf,
Opposed?
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your motion is approved. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
And stay seated because you're on the next case,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
I think that the same engineer, different owner.
Okay.
Yes.
Docket item number 8 is case CD SUP 2025-4, a request to approve a special use permit to allow for the expansion of gasoline and fuel sales establishment in District B4-5 on about 0.8 acres, generally located at East Truman Road and Brooklyn Avenue. Who is your owner for this case?
They submitted a affidavit. Gerald is still the design professional.
Okay. We have Gerald Menifee online.
Mr. Gerald. Hey. Please, anyone else?
We have no other hands raised online.
All right. Gerald, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the court reporter on this case.
It's Gerald Menifee, 6811 North Michigan, Avenue, Gladstone, Missouri, 64118.
Thank you. There are a list of administrative exhibits, excuse me, that are labeled 1 to 9 that we'd like to admit for your case today. Do we have your permission to admit those?
Yes, you do.
Part of that is a presentation by Mr. Clark on your case. Andrew, tell us all about it.
Okay, I will share my screen once more. All right, once again, this is item number 8, CDSUP 2025-4. And this site is located at 2200 East Truman Road, also located within the 3rd Council District. The site right here includes 2 parcels. It was a gas station was originally on 1 parcel, but they have acquired the parcel to the east. The zoning is B4-5. So again, this is another gas station that would have never required public engagement or would come before the City Plan Commission or your board prior to October of last year. Again, site history, I feel like is always important. This is important because they still need to vacate an alley that has never been vacated. So in 1896, you can see the alley was separating the 2 lots. In 1909, it takes more of a commercial form over here. By 1940, there was already auto uses in the area. You can see in yellow, it says auto upholstery. The Bricklayers Union, I wish they would have stayed here. The hall that will be demolished was their original union headquarters. This is where the gas station and fuel canopies are located today, mixed-use building. This is what it looks like today, a little different. This is the original Bricklayer Union in 1940, and it must be really good brick because it still looks like this today. But you can see where the cars are parked in between the buildings. That's the alley that needs to be vacated. Because this is existing, you had a good question earlier about the 5-year time period. That's a new operator, new site, a little more restrictive on the time. This operator has been around, so staff is proposing a 10-year period to allow them for construction and see how everything is moving forward. Existing conditions, if you've ever visited this site, it's really, really tricky to get in and out with where the canopy is located, right on the corner. It's very, very tight, and it's troublesome for pedestrians and vehicles. And then outlined in red is the brick building that would be demolished. Here, the applicant is proposing about a 3,600 square foot addition, but I will acknowledge they did a great job working with city staff to move the old canopies out of there, open up the site for safer circulation, and then move the fuel pumps over to the far east side of the site. And again, they also are eliminating the curb cut that's right at the intersection. In lieu of that, Public Works is okay with them having a 30-foot wide drive because they are removing an extra curb cut. Typically, the standard is only 24 feet wide, so we're giving them 6 feet. This is to allow for the fuel truck to get in and out. And then they still need to vacate the alley that runs in between the 2 properties. A theme of today is brick and maintaining more of an urban look. If this was maybe at 135th, we could see more ephes, but the applicant is proposing more of a brick look. Again, here's a rough rendering of the site. It really opens it up by moving the canopies to the east. And then an enhanced landscaping plan just to provide hopefully some more shade along this corridor. And this gas station is within 2,000 feet of another gas station, but the reason why they don't need a variance is because when the ordinance was drafted, we didn't want to punish someone for trying to make a site improvement. So they did obtain a certificate of legal nonconforming use to prove that it was lawfully established. Therefore, the separation distances are not required because we want people to improve their sites and be incentivized to do it. And it is, so this one is located within 200 feet of residential zoning, but also it's separated by a highway. And then here we go. There's quite a few gas stations right here. The prospect overlay is also on this site. Because they were able to get a certificate of legal nonconforming use, they are permitted to expand the gas station. The urban industrial does allow for gas stations through the SUP process, so they would still have that avenue as well. The City Plan Commission and staff both recommend approval with conditions for this project. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. Questions of Mr. Clark? Andrew, again, I'd like to say thank you for the ride down memory lane with the old pictures. Thank you for that. All right. Gerald, why should we approve your request today?
Well, I think it's a much improved site in the sense that, well, one that was mentioned about the canopy. Well, that'll be removed off to the side, off to the east, and away from the street, blocking where they could block the viewpoints of vehicles traveling on the street itself. That will help that. Plus, it'll make it a little less congested on that corner in terms of having a fueling site in a fairly narrow area. And plus, they'll be opening up the rest of the sites for some more parking as well as some further commercial sales. And I think it'll be a much more open site in terms of, but right now I originally developed the closed site on there and it was pretty tight to begin with. And I'm glad that we're expanding out into the east portion and adding the canopies there. And plus, I think the driveway on Truman is relocation is a good idea. I agree pretty much with the staff's report, all in all, and can't find anything they would say negative about the site.
Thank you. Sir, are you allowing a entrance on the west side of the building, or are the only entrances to the building on the, looks like the south facing?
I don't have, hold on a second. Let me check.
I can share my screen for you.
We do have a westerly entrance there, single door toward the front corner.
Yes, I see that now on the, what Mr. Clark's sharing with us.
Yeah. And we have two on the south side opening up to the Truman, as well as a single on the east side.
All right, thank you for that. Board members, any other questions? Again, I echo Ms. Mixdorf's concern, but this is already an existing location, not necessarily a new location. So I don't have the same density issue that I had on the last case, but that's my concerns. Board members, anybody else?
And if I may, since these are two new cases for you, again, without the standards, staff never would have been given an opportunity to propose moving the canopies. So again, that's the importance as you see more of these cases.
Right.
Mr. Chairperson, I have a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Otto. Go ahead.
In case number 4, I move that the board approve the special use permit and allow the expansion in accordance with the site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Mixdorf.
Gorens,
Aye.
Mixdorf,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. The project is approved. Thank you for coming before us, Gerald. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Ongoing here. Number 9.
Docket item number 9 is case CD BZA 2025-57. A request to approve a special exception in an R 1.5 zoning district to permit a fence greater than 4 feet on the subject site, plus any additional variances on about 0.42 acres, generally located at 3544 Highland Avenue. Connor Tomlin is the staff planner on this case. If you are the applicant or a member of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online to be sworn in. Do not have any hands online, and I don't see Destiny James Stivers either.
Destiny, if you're online, please raise your hand so we can promote you. Anybody?
I have no hands raised.
All right.
You want to
Let's
skip this one?
continue. Let's pause this case till the end. And Connor, I don't know if you want to try to get a hold of him somehow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next case, number 11, is companion with 13 and 14. So I'll call all three of them together.
On those, I will.
Docket item number 11 is case CD BZA 2025-63, a request to approve a variance to the maximum height requirement in an infill residential context area, plus any additional variances in an R.25 zoning district on about 0.105 acres, generally located at 4612 Mercer Street. Docket item number 13 is case CD BZA 2025-74, a request to approve a variance to the maximum height requirement in an infill residential context area, plus any additional variances in an R2.5 zoning district on about 0.105 acres, generally located at 4608 Mercer Street. And docket item number 14 is case CD BZA 2025-75, a request to approve a variance to the maximum height requirement in an infill residential context area, plus any additional variances in an R2.5 zoning district on about 0.105 acres, generally located at 4614 Mercer Street. Anna Naniski is filling in again on this case. I'm promoting Nick C. to panelist on this case, and I will note, if there are any other members of the public who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand online to be promoted. We do have an established quorum on this case. Ebbets, Gorence, Otto, Wright, and Meyer.
Good. Do we have Nick raising his hand? There he is.
Nick
I
is
see
there,
him.
yes.
Anyone else
We have
interested?
no other hands raised online.
Okay, great. Nick, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today? If so, say I do, along with your address.
I do. 1517 Westport Road, Suite 201, Casey Mo 6411.
Thank you. While we've called all the cases, they're similar, but I want to do each one as we get to it. So in case, the first one, 4612 Mercer, there are a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 to 9. Do we have your permission to admit those?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. That is admitted. And part of that is a presentation by Miss Anna on your case.
Okay, as mentioned before, this is a case that we've heard previously. Where we left off includes the applicant returning to us with a better elevation perspective, all of the homes together in context with one of the one-story homes adjacent to the site. So I can either go over all of the information again or pick up with that new information. It's up to the board's discretion.
I feel this is just few weeks ago, so I'm good with us picking up.
Great. So this is the elevation that the applicant provided us of the three homes in association with that home to the south, to the west. 1 second. to the south of the adjacent properties. And I'll go into a little bit more about what they've provided and city staff's reaction to this image. So this is some additional information that they've providing, reiterating the code and describing how the height of a infill home is measured from the average grade of the ground to the main portion of the wall, where the wall meets the roof's eaves, which is a little bit different than a non-infill home. So this is that diagram that showcases that and how all the homes that they are proposing are proportional to each other. But now I want to go into the code, the infill code that talks about the height of the building, which talks about how certain buildings of a certain roof pitch, how we analyze their height for their requirement, is associated with the two nearest residential buildings of the same building type on the same block face. And that has to do with a full story being considered 12 feet and the number of those stories being viewed from the street. And then that's how we calculate that height. Went the wrong direction, excuse me. So in this case, we're looking at this particular home. The garage, which is built into the grade of the land, is not considered. It's just this main story that's highlighted in yellow. That's the full story that we're considering, which is the 12 feet that we're analyzing it against. And so we're looking at that grade. It's one story. It's the minimum of the 12 feet. And we can see that the grade is similar to the homes that have been proposed, as they are also digging into the ground to construct those garages that the structures are building on top of, and that the trees described in the photo, I believe, is in the right of way. It's not right next to the home as the elevation suggests. Just some clarifying points. So again, the proposals, there is the gray boxes imposed on top of the proposals to again show that they are in context with each other. This is another example that we found in West Plaza that we as city staff, this is what we're trying to express as our concern with a two-story home on top of a garage next to a one-story home. In the case of this particular context, the one-story home is on top of its own garage. In this, it's not. But either way, both of this example and the proposal is the same context with each other. They're both built on the same style of grade. This one is built, the garage is built under grade, but regardless, I'm rambling. This is truly the whole reason why the infill residential code was developed, and why the West Plaza Neighborhood Association in particularly was an advocate of this, is due to construction like this, where we've got these old 1.5-story bungalows within the new homes being constructed with 2 stories, sometimes 2.5 on top of that, which is towering over the existing context. So in this example, I estimated what a 1.5 stories would look like. And so that's the red against the new elevation 4 here, which is what we believe to be the same proportions of the proposal. So that's our update. I'll go back to their elevation since that's what the BZA requested. That's our reaction to it. I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Board members, questions of Anna or staff?
Yeah, so Anna, the photo that we now currently see, this is to show us how the 1-story house would be located in actuality. Is that correct? So we see where the actual height of the roof is of the existing home?
This is what the applicant provided us in response to your request at the last meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Nick, tell us why we should grant this modification.
Can I ask a clarifying question? And Anna, I appreciate you going through that. To ask it, I think it'd be easier to look at page 2 of what you presented.
Sure thing. Oh, not sharing my screen. That's my fault.
And partly why I asked this is
you.
we're getting ready to submit a number of projects for permit that I think are by right per the infill, but this is a great project to make sure I'm interpreting things correctly. So in this excerpt from the code here on the infill standards, in the first paragraph,
1 second.
no, you're okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
So first paragraph, last sentence, it says, for example, whether the tallest of the two adjacent residential buildings. And so what I'm getting hung up on the words tallest of the two adjacent, because the tallest of our two adjacent is a 2-story building to the north.
So, as Alec explained, that has to do with the variance request associated with the homes closer to that side. 4614 Mercer Street, which has a larger variance request for the height, is because of those buildings to the south.
Yes, the one building to the south, but the two adjacent reads as if we're allowed to look at the context beyond just the most immediate, but actually the two adjacent.
The two homes adjacent to 4614 Mercer are both 1-story buildings. Let me pull it up. Pull up something else. Another exhibit, Mr. Chair.
No problem.
Sorry, is that feedback from me?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the Donald Duck?
Yeah.
That or a fly is near your microphone.
Jeez, I think it's my headphones.
Okay, I believe Alec explained this during the first hearing, but here's 4614 Mercer. This is the home with the largest height request, variance request. That is because the two homes that are affecting that analysis are these two structures right here.
And just how come you're interpreting that rather than the one to the north, which is also adjacent theoretically to that property?
But they're not adjacent. There's the other two vacant lots in between.
Yeah, but even the way you're interpreting it, there's one house in between. So you're interpreting this house, the other 1-story is adjacent, but it's not really adjacent either, which makes me think I can interpret the north one as adjacent.
So yeah, okay. This lot, the two nearest adjacent homes for this property, we've got 1, 2, but there's 2 vacant lots here. So we are considering that as a part of the analysis. There are no homes there. That's not affecting the analysis for the height in our interpretation.
I would volley back that you're adding the word nearest, which is not within the code. And I only ask because Kala and our owner, we're working on a lot of infill developments in neighborhoods that I think merit investment and merit new development. And one of the things I think we're finding really difficult to make these investments make sense is when we're in metropolitan infill neighborhoods in a city like Kansas City, where we can potentially not build a 2-story home based on the current infill standards. And we're further sort of conflicted because, this site we're trying to, make an investment in a neighborhood in. Let's say we decided to build a 1-story. Let's say this was multiple property owners, and we decided to build the house on the left first, and it was a 1-story home. but someone had already bought the middle home under the hopes that they could build a 2-story home. And now the middle lot can only build a 1-story home because the way you're interpreting it is the 2 adjacent now become 2 1-story homes. And so there's sort of like to me, there's actually a kind of a legal issue here at hand in terms of ownership that I think the city needs to rationalize in some extent about kind of when things are purchased. And, I only lay this out because I'm interpreting the code as the 2 adjacent. But I also think, so that's one issue that I think is, up for interpretation and as the way it's written. But I think there's a bigger issue here about what can be developed within our city based on the current codes. Back to the initial question. So, I mean, I'd love to hear kind of feedback relative to that comment, but, back to answering the direct question, which was, why should you grant us this? I just sort of rest on the similar hardship we presented before, which we, went through kind of full design and documentation on these homes under the R2.5. And we do want to make a contextual home that works for the neighborhood and works for, what, modern homes are sort of expected to be within this market. And we did that other exhibit that we had the code in there to state that, like, if we start developing or building these homes from north to south, the southern one then has the adjacent capability of being based on a 2-story home at that point. So it's actually the reverse issue of kind of what can happen. And we wanted to do that overlay of saying, like, if it is 30 feet from average grade and we do an 8.9 pitch, then we can do a 30-foot tall home, which is actually perception wise larger than what we're proposing. So we were just trying to make the point that, we can sort of play within these rules on this site and kind of find our way to success, and actually make larger homes than what we're currently proposing by right, we think. We just don't really want to, and actually we might need to do that to recoup the, another $100,000 in kind of design costs to redo it. It's not our desire. Our desire is to kind of build these homes, which we think fit within the neighborhood and are contextual, but those are just, frankly, some of the conversations we're having internally to try to wrap our heads around how do we make great buildings for the city that, address a market desiring, 3 beds and some amount of off-street parking, so that we're not congesting our roads with additional parking. But I appreciate you letting me share some of our thoughts, and I welcome any other questions or thoughts. Thank you.
And I will clarify by rereading that section of code. It says residential buildings with the roof pitch between 0 semicolon 12 and 312 and between 912 and 1212 may not exceed the height in full, not partial stories. That's just talking about the roof pitch of the greater of the 2 nearest residential buildings on the same building type on the same block face. So the 2 homes in question that are dictating 4614 Mercer Street's analysis 1-2 are closer to the site in question than 1-3 lots away of the 2-story building that you're referring to. That's why that's me clarifying what I said before.
Yeah, I'd love to see you highlight that in the written language on page 2, because I wasn't able to follow along. I'm sorry, I'm visual. I'm an architect. I didn't hear the one that sort of pointed us toward the 2
My apologies.
nearest.
I thought I was sharing my screen. 4614 Mercer Street.
Yeah.
4614 Mercer, which has the larger of the height variance requests, because the code says the greater of the 2 nearest residential buildings of the same building type on the same block face. So 1, 2.
Yeah, I'm looking for the code language. I'm in the infill
excuse me.
standards. What section?
88 110 07 6A. That first sentence.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? 88 110
07 6. Oh, yeah, 07D.
Oh, 7D. Okay. 07D. 6.
A. The first sentence.
Infill not partially greater of the 2 nearest residential buildings. The height and full, not partially greater of the 2 nearest in the same block. 2 nearest residential buildings in the same block based. Okay, so the goal there would be that folks that read this interpret the 2 nearest as basically a measurement in plan view, where the other sentence is kind of speaking from adjacent. So I'm with you now. If I'm being very literal with it, I'm now following along how you're getting there. I would suggest that as I believe the city is actually kind of putting under consideration adjustments to this, that that continues to be kind of clarified, but also weighted against, are we allowing for incremental density in a city where we know that density can lead to kind of sustainability if done right, or are we sort of stagnating in it in some cases, limiting a kind of legal right of development? But just some comments,
Anna,
commentary there.
excuse me just for a second. Anna, could you show slide 2 again? Again, Ms. Otto and I both are concerned or want to see that, would like to see it.
Okay.
Not that one. There you go. So, so Mr. Christopher, as the street heads north on Mercer, I know the slope of the street goes down. The last building, I guess it could be 4602, whatever that address would be of the existing building. That doesn't seem to have quite the height differential between 4602 and your first constructed building, which would be 4608, maybe? I'm looking here for 4608. What's your comments on that?
Well, actually, I mean, our goal is to, we're trying to visit the variances requested just at once and be able to determine which one we build first. We actually don't know yet which one we'll build first. Pending even the kind of decisions of this, we'll determine that. I.e., if we build the north one first and then the middle one, then the one furthest to the south is now most nearest adjacent to a 2-story building, because we will have built a 2-story building there. So we will at that point then be by right on the southern building to build a 2-story building, or the 24-foot/30-foot pending the roof pitch. We will, if required to redesign because of the cost, we will still attempt to achieve this, I'll call it bulk, this amount of square footage from a development standpoint, and thereby we would do a roof pitch of likely 8.912, which is within the roof pitch that allows us a 30-foot height to the top of the wall from average grade. It'll require us to reconfigure the plans greatly and do a redesign, but that is kind of the part of our consideration that we're as we run parallel paths of how do we protect our investment and do something great for the city, as off of what we was purchased years ago and then designed, several years ago during the recession under the R2.5 and now under the infill standards. But I hope that answers your question, but if it doesn't, let me know.
Any neighbor opposition from the Homes Association, sir?
None that we're aware of beyond the gentleman from 2 weeks ago who asked that we mow the lawns.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Ebbets, if this rendering is accurate, this actual presentation does not look like the other example that Anna showed us, where you have the 2-story structure towering over the 1-story structure. Because of the grade change, these appear to fit in more naturally than that other example. So I guess I'm not as concerned, and that was my concern, because I couldn't visually see how that existing home, would become, in the shadow of a towering building. And you know what I mean? So I feel like because of the grade change, this doesn't look so misplaced and it doesn't cause me as big as concern, and that's why I asked for the continuance. So I appreciate Mr. Christopher presenting us with better information. And I would suggest, Mr. Christopher, if you're worried about this in the future, the more information you give this board, the more we're going to listen rather than try to,
Yeah.
A picture is 1,000 words. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I think we learned from it too. Yeah.
Okay.
And I agree with you, Miss Otto, on this same deal, because the grade change on the street, it doesn't seem as bad on the new presentation today as it did a couple weeks ago. So,
Right.
yeah.
Are we, any other questions? I have a motion now that this has answered the question that I had on these. And are we going to address all three separately on motion?
Yes,
Okay.
please do. Thank you, Miss
Okay,
Otto.
all right, give me a second and I will get back to the right page here on my screen. All right, the first case is case number 11. I'm sorry, docket number 11, case number 63. I move that the board grant the variance request in accordance with the staff report and site plan.
I have a motion from Miss Otto. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Meyer.
Gorence,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. That project is approved. Next motion, Miss Otto.
Docket number 13, case number 74. I again move that the board approve the variance in accordance with the site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Meyer. Go ahead.
Gorence,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. That project is approved for 4608. Lastly,
Docket number 14, case number 75. I move that the board grant the requested variance in accord with staff report and site plan.
motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Meyer. Please call the roll.
Gorence,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Your project is approved, Mr. Christopher. Look forward to seeing the construction. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Sure. So we have a few cases that we delayed.
And we have one more case.
Oh, got it.
We skipped over
Sorry.
12.
Yes, you're right.
So 12 is the last on the docket,
you.
and we can go back to the two that were skipped. You want to go ahead?
Yes, please. Thank you. Sorry.
Docket item number 12 is case CD BZA 2025-66, a request to approve a variance to the maximum size of a wall sign in an R 1.5 zoning district, plus any additional variances on about 2.11 acres generally located at 9201 Ward Parkway. Connor Tomlin is the staff planner for this case. Mason McGill, I'm going to promote to panelist. If there's anyone else who would like to provide testimony on this case, please raise your hand online. I don't think that we don't have anybody else online. So Mason McGill, you have to be sworn in.
Hello, Mason. Please
Good
turn on your
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this meeting today?
I do.
State your name and address for the court reporter.
Mason McGill, 9201 Ward Parkway, Kansas City, Missouri, 64114.
Thank you. There is a list of administrative exhibits labeled 1 through 11 that we'd like to admit to hear your case today. Do you have any questions on those exhibits, and do we have your permission to admit them?
You do.
Thank you. Part of that is a presentation by Mr. Tomlin. Connor, tell us about this one.
Okay, we have docket item 12. It says 2 on the presentation. That's supposed to say 12. 9201 Ward Parkway, case CD BZA 2025-66, located in an R-1.5 zoning district. The request is to approve a variance to the maximum size of a wall sign in a residential zoning district, plus any additional variances. We looked at this a couple of weeks ago and it is now back before us. This is the general location of the site. This is a closer look at the site outlined in yellow. This is the site plan that was submitted last time. This is there, so there are going to be two revised signage options that were brought forward. This first one here is 40.22 square feet. Just to refresh everyone's memories, the original signage that was proposed 2 weeks ago was 49.77 square feet. So this is the first option that was provided. The second option is a bit smaller at 30.03 square feet. And then there were some images submitted by the applicant. This is their building from the street and then up a little closer to the entrance itself. And then the following 2 or 3 slides are going to be signage on these other office buildings to their south and east within this development area. And in your staff report, before I get to the variances, there was written testimony from the owner of the building. You guys had some questions about what kind of signage would be going up from other tenants. That should be included in the staff report for you guys to view. So for option A, the variance request would be a variance of 20.22 square feet to the maximum size of a wall sign in a residential zoning district to permit a sign of 40.22 square feet on the subject site. Again, this option A would be a 20.22 square feet variance or a 101% increase. A substantial change to the character of the neighborhood is not anticipated as the existing building has been used as an office space for the entirety of its existence and has seen signage in the past that exceeds the maximum size that's allowed. This is also a 9.55 square foot reduction from the original proposal you saw 2 weeks ago. Again, same as last time, the difficulty could be obviated through a change of design, such as reducing the total size to the allowable 20 square feet. Or option B, the variance would be 10.02 square feet to the maximum size, or I'm sorry, 10.03 square feet to the maximum size of a wall sign in a residential zoning district to permit that sign to be 30.03 square feet. Again, that's a 10 square foot difference, and it is a 50% increase from the requirement. Same thing as I said in the previous slide, there's signage that previously existed on the building that far exceeded what would be allowed. This is a 19.74 square foot reduction from the original proposal you saw 2 weeks ago. That concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Connor. Board members, questions of Mr. Tomlin?
Why did you propose this reduced amount? What's the basis of it? I mean, we asked you to do it, I understand that, but why this size and not just a little bit smaller?
Mason, your comment?
Yeah, we felt like it still needs to be large enough to be seen. We do feel like the 92nd Street. So Connor, if you can pull up the slide where you kind of get 2 different angles from 92nd Street.
Yeah, give me just a moment.
No problem. We do feel like the added square footage would just gain us just enough of an advantage to be seen from across Ward Parkway. As to, you know, if you were, because obviously Ward Parkway is one way, you know, headed north and one way headed south. So if you're on 92nd and you're making a right-hand turn, still being able to see the logo from across Ward Parkway is just enough traffic where I think we gain an advantage for having, you know, the larger sign, the better in our eyes. That's why we proposed kind of 2 different options, and we did propose 50 square feet, you know, during the last hearing, and that was acknowledged to be about 1/4 of the previous sign that was up on the building, you know, historically. So we're just trying to make it as large as we can to gain, you know, the maximum amount of eyeballs as we possibly can get on it.
All right, so tell me again, what are the dimensions of the two proposals?
Yes, so the updated proposals are 40.22 square feet, down from the original 49.77, and then the other option is 30.03 square feet.
You said 30.30?
30.03.
03, excuse me. Okay.
It's within the staff report. Teresa, maybe if you scroll down in the staff report, you'll see it, the two different projections.
Yeah, I see it. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Well,
And
Mason, I
yeah,
appreciate you bringing before, again, we'll hear your comments just a second. I do appreciate the two proposals. The first one, we all agreed was way too big, and but you've given us a couple things to think about here. But tell us what your concerns are, Mason.
well, I've got really no concerns. I just wanted to touch on something that Connor had mentioned, and I think what he said the staff report. There was a letter from the property owner, the building owner, that I'm representing. I've got an affidavit to represent here today. He's basically stating that I think there was a concern last session where, if you guys allowed us to put a sign on the outside of the building, that other tenants in the basement might do the same. This is a letter from him basically stating that that is not the case, and that Bluebird Fiber is the only tenant allowed to put a sign on the outside of the exterior of the building. So just wanted to touch on that real quick, because that was a part of the staff report as well.
I'm only one board member, but if it's the only sign on the building, I have no problem with option A.
Okay. I'll make a motion in docket item number 12, case number 66, that we approve
Option A or option B?
the request to approve the variance for option A according to the staff report
In site plan.
and site plan.
Thank you. I have a motion to go with option A in the revised site plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Meyer. Thank you.
Oh, option A, okay. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
we ready to vote?
I think so. That was, yeah.
All right, Gorens,
Aye.
Otto,
Nay.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. Yes, aye. It's been approved. Thank you very much. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
So we skipped two cases. The first one was docket item number 2, case number 44. This is the second time that this applicant has not appeared. Actually the third. The first time they had a family emergency, and we rescheduled it. Your bylaws do state, if for any reason the applicant doesn't appear, their case may be dismissed or continued, and if there's no appearance at a second hearing, the application or appeal may be dismissed. So staff would request that this item be dismissed at this time.
I agree. They haven't let us know. So I'll take a motion to that.
Make a motion in docket item number 2, case number 44, that we dismiss this case.
Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Gorens.
Gorens,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. That case is dismissed.
And then the next item, Connor, unless you've heard from
Docket number 9.
number 9
Okay.
is case 57. We would request that this be continued to the next meeting, which would be August
July 23rd.
Oh, I'm sorry, July 23rd.
Good.
Thank you.
With fee?
I'd say without fee this first time.
Okay.
They have been in contact with me. This is the first time that I just have not heard from them, so something could have come up. I'm not sure.
And I'll make a motion, docket item number 9, case number 57. I move that we continue this case into the July 23rd meeting, without fee.
I have a motion from Ms. Wright. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Meyer.
Gorens,
Aye.
Otto,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Ebbets.
Aye. That is continued, and that concludes today's activities. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks you, Teresa and Yolanda. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
That's,
Yeah. Can't go drag some people off the street some more.
yeah, that's right. That's right.